December the 26th, 2025. Welcome back to the Two Witnesses Live. I'm your host, Watchful, and I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas and happy Hanukkah. I know I did. It was a belly full, family full, happy time. I hope you guys had similar experiences. If not, just know that you're in our prayers. And if you're going through a hard time right now, which there are people going through hard times right now, which is the worst thing that can be happening, is going through hard times and tribulations, uh, especially during the holidays when we should be together with family. Just know that you're in God's heart and mind, and in those believers who are thinking about those less fortunate and praying about them. So the scripture says that withstand the adversary, and he will flee from you. So with that, today we're going to get into the daily torment report on the two men who are tormenting the world more than anyone else, Donald Trump and Elon Musk. I was debating on whether coming on the show tonight and doing a show on their posts, but they have been posting so much that if I had waited until Monday, it would be impossible to cover everything that they've said. And even today, we may still have to skip a bunch of stuff to make it through in a decent amount of time. So before we start reading the posts, I see Fury is posting here. So let's see. The Supreme Court said Donald Trump had to bring in the military before he could bring in the National Guard, paving the way for the Insurrection Act in Illinois and other states. Interesting. Some idiots on YouTube claimed his post on Christmas Day about Epstein incriminated him, which made me laugh. Apparently, Dems don't know how to read. Yeah, it's this woke mind virus. I've been working on a video in regards to, there's another virus that affects mice called Toxoplasma gondii. It literally rewires their brains so that they're idiots and they go straight towards danger. I see that same attribute in the Dems who are just looking for anything to just they're just dumb. They don't see things and they incriminate themselves. All right. Let's get started with Donald Trump and what he has been up to during the holiday. So we're going to start off here 2 days ago, picking up where we left off. He said Stephen Colbert is a pathetic train wreck with no talent or anything else necessary for show business success. Now, after being terminated by CBS but left out to dry, he has actually gotten worse. Along with his non-existent ratings, Stephen is running on hatred and fumes. A dead man walking. CBS should put him to sleep now. It's the humanitarian thing to do. Man, that's brutal. That is so brutal. Poor Steven. Steven used to be funny, but man, when people get infected with these mind viruses, it just turns them sour, takes away the humor. It kills the humor. The humor is the first thing to go. All right, who has the worst late night host? CBS, ABC, NBC. They all have three things in common: high salaries, no talent, and really low ratings. I don't even watch any of them anymore. I used to, not anymore. All right. If network newscasts and their late night shows are almost 100% negative to President Donald J. Trump, MAGA, and the Republican Party, shouldn't their very valuable broadcast licenses be terminated? I say yes. And then Merry Christmas. The things he posts. Fire from the mouth. All right, we're going to skip the articles because there's a bunch of them, but we'll read the headlines here. Democrats push for Epstein files boomeranged with Clinton I read that wrong. Let's try again. Democrats push for Epstein files boomeranged with Clinton featured prominently throughout. Yes, indeed. Lots of pictures of him where he shouldn't be and with people he shouldn't be with. All right, Rubio issues sanctions on European officials who attempted to censor American free speech. Good for him. Let's see. Trump's policy appeal with urban Americans has a surprising new messenger in Nick Minaj. Let's see. John Brennan's lawyer confirm he is Target of Florida grand jury probe. Asks judge to intervene. Interesting. Ex-FBI agent says Bondi has slam dunk conspiracy case against Obama's feds for election meddling. Very interesting. Merry Christmas to all, including the radical left scum that is doing everything possible to destroy our country, but are failing badly. We no longer have open borders, men and women's sports, transgender for everyone, or weak law enforcement. What we do have is a record stock market and 401ks. Lowest crime numbers in decades, no inflation, and yesterday a 4.3 GDP. 2 points better than expected. Tariffs have given us trillions of dollars in growth and prosperity, and the strongest national security we have ever had. We are respected again, perhaps like never before. God bless America. President DJT. All right. I think we may have seen this. This is a retruth from, this is, thank you, Josh. So this is a retruth. He retruth. He says, thank you, Joshua, total crooks. Breaking the Georgia Board of Elections just dropped the bombshell, revealing that hundreds of thousands of ballots. So this is about the election fraud in Georgia. This is a 8-minute video where he goes through and shows a lot about the election fraud. So just keeping this in people's minds, I guess. All right, this is new. What's this?
Hey, listen up. This week's CPI isn't just good, it's very good. Trump's economic strategy is working, and the so-called experts missed it again. Prices rose just 0.2% over the past 2 months. Core inflation even lower. At this pace, inflation is running at 1.2% annualized, well below the Fed's target. And here's the kicker. All 61 economists surveyed by Bloomberg got it dead wrong. Grocery prices are down. Gas prices are down. Airfares and toy prices are down. So much for the tariff scare stories. Wages are finally beating inflation again, especially for blue-collar workers after years of Biden-era damage. With inflation near 1.2%, the Federal Reserve is now way behind the curve on cutting rates. The data are clear. Trump's agenda is working.
Yes, indeedy. Interesting. Our nation was founded by businessmen, and it turns out that it runs better when a businessman is at the helm rather than a politician. Now, there's a bunch of these double posts. We're going to skip them. President Trump's economic strategy is working. The so-called experts missed it again. Never forget this video still exists.
Yet, that whether we are black or brown or white, we all bleed the same red blood of patriots. We all enjoy the same glorious freedoms, and we all salute the same great American flag. And whether a child is born in the urban sprawl of Detroit or the windswept plains of Nebraska, they look up at the same night sky, they fill their heart with the same dreams, and they are infused with the breath of life by the same almighty Creator. So to all Americans, in every city, near and far, small and large, from mountain to mountain, from ocean to ocean, hear these words. You will never be ignored again. Your voice, your hopes, and your dreams will define our American destiny. And your courage and goodness and love will forever guide us along the way.
Wow. Double post. That's probably why it seemed like his posts were so long because of all these double posts. Trump's best speech ever. Media won't show you this. All right, what was this one?
I've not seen the tapes myself, but we do not dispute that the tapes were not signed. It was a violation of the rule. Since 2020, again, we have new leadership and a new building and a new board and new standard operating procedures. And since then, the training has been enhanced. The poll watchers are trained specifically. They've got to sign the tapes in the morning, and they've got to sign the tapes when they're run at the end of the day. When the tapes come back to the hub for, with all the documentation, they are checked again. And if somebody forgot to sign a tape, then Fulton initiates an investigation. But we don't dispute the allegation.
What is this? What is this video? Fulton County admits 315,000 2020 votes lacked required poll worker signature. A major rule violations. Republicans demand restitution for Rudy Giuliani, hit with charges and a $148 million fine for contesting the Georgia election. Do you support giving his money back? 100%. So is that what this is?
I've not seen the tapes myself, but we do not dispute that the tapes were not signed. It was a violation of the rule. Since 2020, again, we have new leadership and a new building and a new board and new standard operating procedures. And since then, the training has been enhanced. The poll watchers are trained specifically. They've got to sign the tapes in the morning, and they've got to sign the tapes.
So I'm kind of confused. So is this a new video, or is this a video of when they were trying to defend that they had done the election properly? Because this feels like it's like supporting evidence for why they owe Rudy Giuliani.
When they're run at the end of the day, when the tapes come back to the hub for, with all the documentation.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. It seems like it's an old video. So he's like posting it here so that they have the evidence for why they owe Rudy, and honestly, they owe Donald Trump an apology for simply asking them to verify that they got it right. They owe Rudy Giuliani the money for the fines, and he's just posting this here. It's like, this is the evidence.
And if somebody forgot to sign a tape, then Fulton initiates an investigation. But we don't dispute the allegation.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I think it's an old video too. Feels like an old video. Feels like I've seen it before.
Now, I want to touch on this whole big controversy. It's not the biggest controversy in the world, but for me, it's an annoying one. The Kennedy Center. The Kennedy Center of the Performing Arts. This is a swamp jewel. The Kennedy Center, named for a beautiful Democrat that they have elevated to obscene levels. Opened back in 1971. It's a nice theater. I've been there once or twice. Let's take a look at another picture, please. Here it is today. And it is the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts until, well, recently. Show me that other picture, if you don't mind, on the inside. Right? This is it on the inside. It's very beautiful, but it's getting an update, both inside and out. The Trump Kennedy Center is what it's going to be called. The Donald J. Trump and John F. Kennedy Memorial Center for the Performing Arts.
It's tempting to think that like Donald Trump is like really egotistical for putting his name on all these things. And a lot of the cases, he's not the one making the decision to put his name on these things. It's the people who are so grateful to finally have the attention that they want to honor him by putting his name on it. At least that's how I understand it. I could be wrong about the Kennedy Center, but it's been the same way with like the battleships and other things that have his name on them, is people just want to honor him. Like Trump RX, he didn't pick that name. He didn't pick the Trump class battleship. Somebody else picked that name. It's just like they want to name him after him because, they're so grateful for what he's doing that they want to honor him. I can totally see, though, which I don't know. It's weird to even say this because it's probably not even going to happen. But as soon as if the next administration, whomever that may be, gets into power, the first thing they're going to do is probably go stripping his name off of all these things. That's what they're going to do. But I'm glad that they're putting his name on this stuff. I just don't think it's going to last very long. And it seems, and I imagine it's probably going to have a bad public image because people are going to take it as though he is, which maybe that's part of the strong delusion. I'm actually working on a video, one of the Antichrist video that I was hoping to release yesterday. I'm still working on it. I know it just takes me forever to do these like nice trained videos with, all the fancy production editing. It could be part of the strong delusion because what I'm noticing is there's an overlap. There's a reason why people want to call him the Antichrist. When you believe the Hollywood story of Antichrist, he fits the bill. He fits the image. So it's almost as if this is part of the strong delusion that God is sending for the people who really don't care about the details. They just want to go with the flow. They're like lemmings. They're following the lead lemming, and the lemming's going to lead them off of a cliff. So the whole naming thing could actually be part of that whole strong delusion just to trigger the people who have Trump derangement syndrome. I swear to God, God has a sense of humor. We're going to be laughing about this stuff when Christ comes back. I just know we are.
This has made them all insanely crazy. You cannot name it that. How dare you do that? You cannot. I mean, after all, who do they think President Trump is? A president or something?
Cue the left.
Well, here we are at the scene of yet another crime committed by Donald Trump. He has vandalized the Kennedy Center.
There you go.
By putting his name on it. He can't do this single-handedly. Only Congress can.
I did not watch. I haven't watched any of the videos. I haven't. I've only read a couple of the things during the holiday. So I think I just totally called that.
Authorize a change of name to the Kennedy Center. But yet he doesn't care about the law. He doesn't care what is appropriate.
A grifter has just stuck his name on top of a national monument. This is a desecration.
The president has appointed himself the chairman after he terminated the chair. Members of the board put in his friends and cronies into that role. And Kira, there has been reporting on this from the Washington Post that since all that happened, ticket sales have been struggling for the Kennedy Center in response.
They keep talking about the president, right? It's the most powerful person in the world, the most powerful person in the free world. But when it comes time to doing anything, whether it's big or whether it's small, they say he doesn't have the authority. Well, he does have the authority, the moral authority to be sure. But there's one small thing I don't like about this. The Donald J. Trump Center for the Performing Arts. Get rid of the Kennedy name. Look, the way Donald Trump put his name on this thing, gosh, you would think he's George Floyd. George Floyd. There are monuments, schools, coast to coast, right? I'm totally fine with it. And actually, I do think the Kennedy name should be removed. We have to have an honest conversation about the 35th president of the United States. His name is on the thing, right? The Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts.
Information. I disagree with that. I don't think Kennedy's name should be removed. I don't think it doesn't matter how bad somebody is. They're in their position because God gave them their position, gave them that power, allowed them to be there for his purposes. And I think we should be reminded of that. If it was called the Obama Center or the Biden Center, I would be okay with him calling it the Trump Biden Center or the Trump Obama Center. Just in order to maintain the historical record of what that was. I'm very curious on if Trump actually is the one who wanted to put his name on it. I guess he does put his name on towers and things that he builds, but it's not true in all cases. Whatever, who cares? It's not Fury says it's not a desecration unless you want to call the renaming of all of our military bases and removal of statues desecration. Yeah. It's Trump derangement syndrome. That's what it is. This is a double post. They really need to fix that. Let's see. This has made them all insanely crazy. Yes. Yes, it has. And I know I have family members who wholeheartedly believe he is the Antichrist because of this. And unfortunately, those same family members don't want to talk to me. At least they haven't in a while. You know who you are. Come find me. Let's have a conversation.
Okay, I hope you're ready for this video. This won't be a short one. I'm going to tie in exactly how I believe Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, Tim Walz, Ilhan Omar, Tony West, Kamala Harris. All of these people are linked together with the fraud that we're seeing unfold right now. And I'm going to explain to you how it is. See, it starts way back when Barack Obama was president. When he was president, he was in charge of appointing somebody to the Department of Justice Civil Division. It's Tony West. And you say, well, who's Tony West? It's Kamala Harris's brother-in-law. So he appoints Kamala Harris's brother-in-law, Tony West, but not only does he do that, but he removes the restriction that Congress has to approve any settlement over $100,000. See, Congress used to have to approve that. Once Barack took away that restraint, DOJ can sue for anything with nobody's approval. They could sue for $1 gazillion and Congress doesn't have to approve for a settlement. Why is the settlement important? Because in a settlement, you don't have to disclose all the law firms involved. You just settle.
You know, one of the reasons I believe for a lot of the bad actors who have been given the power for a period of time, like Obama, like Joe Biden, I've thought about this for years, to where everything for like 20 or 30 years I've been thinking about this. Everything that has been happening is movements by God preparing for this day that we're living in right now. Think about it. The power, the authority, the way things have gone, what Trump can do, all have, even the founding of the United States of America, it's like everything has been leading towards this day and time right now. And Trump's in the perfect position to do everything he needs in order to prepare the way for Jesus's return. And both Donald Trump and Elon Musk are doing that. They're both, it's just like they're standing in the gap, and like they have the power and the authority that they need in order to do the things that need to be done, in order to protect the people who need to be protected, and in order to allow the things to happen that need to be happen. Look at everything that's going on all around the world. Look at what's going on in Europe. They're systematically losing their freedoms. There are places around the world who've never had freedoms in the first place, and things are getting worse, and persecution is getting worse. But here in America, we're like in this bubble. And it's all been leading up towards this. We're getting so close.
Now, people complain when Tony West was settling all of these cases. They were all minority-based cases. People suing the Justice Department, suing the Justice Department for minority-based this, minority-based that. The Justice Department, what they would do because of Tony West is settle. 50 million, 40 million, $1 billion, nobody knew because they wouldn't release it because Barack Obama already signed off saying, you don't got to tell nobody. So Kamala Harris's brother-in-law was taking all of this money, giving it to all of these law firms. Now, Barack, he's an attorney. Michelle Obama, she's an attorney. So all of these attorneys out there were getting all of this money from the DOJ now, being fed and loving it. Tony West, another attorney. He's now the head of Uber. That's a whole nother story. We'll talk about that later. He's the head of Uber legal department. But now all of these attorneys are eating right now. Nobody knows how much money is going on. Kind of like with BLM, when people were donating all this money to BLM, but BLM wasn't giving money to the people who it was intended for. That's what these law firms were doing. They were keeping the funds. So people were suing the Justice Department on behalf of minorities. Minorities weren't getting the money, though. The law firms were getting the money. So after they saw how this scheme was working, now you got Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar, Michelle Obama. What was Michelle Obama big for? We got to feed all these kids. This is about nutrition. We got to make sure every kid has a meal. That was Michelle Obama. Ilhan Omar says, oh, we could do that in Minnesota. I'll start a whole new program. So now she's using all of the legalese from Michelle Obama, go to Minnesota. They create this feeding our future, no kid starves thing. And where did all the money end up? In Kenya, China, Somalia. Who's linked to Kenya? Barack Obama. Kenyan relatives. Who's in China? Tim Walz. He has all these Chinese connections. All the banks in China know who Tim Walz is. He was a big politician. He's got connections over there. So when it came time for the Democrats to choose, after Biden says, I can't do this, they chose Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris linked in with who? The DOJ already, Tony West. He already went to Uber. But guess who's also they're linked in with? Tim Walz in Minnesota through Ilhan Omar. So now you got all of these people who are all linked together, already got previous dealings with each other. The Democrats are like, why don't we run a primary? Barack is like, we're not running a primary. We're going to appoint Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, you're going to choose Tim Walz. Everybody's like, who the hell's Tim Walz? See, Tim Walz has already been deep in it with Ilhan Omar and Michelle Obama's food programs. They've already been deep in scamming already. So they need to choose somebody that can keep it rolling. You can't choose an outside Democrat. You can't choose a Pete Buttigieg or anybody like that, because they're going to be like, what the hell is all this going on? Now, when Trump finally won and he came in and he says, we're cleaning this all up, everybody started resigning. The head of Social Security office resigning. All of these people started resigning because they knew the jig was up. All of this money that they were putting up for minorities and putting up for illegals, it was all just being swindled. Nobody was being taken care of. All these cities are going bankrupt right now because the feds weren't funneling this money to it. The states was like, well, we'll fund and you guys reimburse us. And the feds were like, okay, $9 billion is flowing out of this country into over other banks.
More than that.
Now, if any bank here in America was like, we're getting billions and billions of dollars put into our banking system, what the hell's going on? But if you're doing it in China, you're doing it in Kenya, you're doing it in Somalia, you're doing it in Sweden, you're doing it in the Cayman Islands, you're putting this money all over the place. American banks don't know what's up. You can even put it in banks over in Ukraine. Ukraine was kind of getting money on. It's like, hey, we'll help you guys move the money. As long as, we got our man Zelensky in power, we will help you move the money. Everything was happening right in front of everybody's faces. Now they want to claim, oh, it's not as big as what it is. I did a story about this 2 years ago, talking about Tim Walz and Tony West and all of this fraud. 2 years ago, I was talking about it. It's now 2025, and people are finally saying, hey, Tim Walz is involved in fraud. I said it 2 years ago. I said, this dude is in bed with Tony West. Tony West was running fraud at the DOJ. Everybody was talking about investigating Tony West.
I just want to remind you, this is a post from Donald Trump. He posted this guy's message, which is talking about this Democrat fraud pyramid, which it's interesting because Elon Musk, about the same time, posted a similar data about USAID. It's like these things are coinciding. They're exposing corruption. They're exposing the fraud. This is, I don't know about you, but I find this really interesting. It's just like, God allowed them to go so far and to commit so much fraud and to do so much evil, and now he's exposing it. Like, it's just like this stuff isn't going to be allowed to persist, and it's being used against them. It's like it's just interesting to watch this stuff, how it all just kind of overlaps and flows together. Hopefully you'll see what I mean when we get to Elon's posts.
And all of a sudden it just disappeared. When Trump won, it disappeared. Like, what happened? Were we investigating this guy or what? He was the one scamming the DOJ. He was using minorities to fund all of these law firms who were in turn giving money to Kamala Harris, an attorney, Michelle Obama, attorney, Barack Obama, attorney, Tony West, attorney. So all of our tax dollars are flowing to all these attorneys. Where's the money at? And once Barack Obama already knew Obamacare was a scam from the get-go, he was like, this is going to be too easy. We've got illegals coming in from Somalia, illegals coming in from all over the world. We can have them apply for and use Medicaid, Medicare, all of these services, creating dummy companies and everything else to make sure we trap the tax dollars in our scheme. We don't let the Americans into the scheme. We do the scheme with the people coming into the country that don't know how our laws work. We're the attorneys here. We just need a bunch of patsies. So all of these people in the Somalian community has no idea they were being played. You guys are being used. You got autistic kids. You got hungry kids. You need housing. You need lodging. All of these people were being used by a group of attorneys who had this grand scheme on how to get tax dollars under everybody's noses using programs and NGOs. I'm telling you, this goes way deeper than what a lot of people think. Tim Walsh and Ilhan Omar are not masterminds. This was a mastermind affair. This right here started at the very, very top a long time ago, knowing we could get tax dollars out of these people if we play by the rules. The only way they could play by the rules is if they got people that didn't really know the rules. You need people who think this is on the up and up, but you're using scams to get there. You're using a collection of people who know exactly how to work through the loopholes. You're getting kickbacks. So a lot of politicians were getting kickbacks. A lot of agencies out there are getting kickbacks. You can't tell me these people saw all that money come through and they didn't know the wiser. You can't tell me that. These are intelligent people with degrees, with experiences in law, with experience in politics, experience in government agencies. And you telling me a group of Somali pirates who probably didn't even have high school educations tricked everybody out of $9 billion? I'm not buying it. Now Tim Walsh and Ilhan Omar are sitting on the hot seat and the other people in the backdrop like, yeah, don't say our name. Whatever you do, don't say our names. I said y'all names 2 years ago. I think we better start looking into it.
This is awesome that Trump posted that. That is awesome. I love it. He's listening to this stuff. And he knows about it, obviously. All right, so what does this post say? So, wow, give this man a listen. His breakdown is spot on. President Trump was right all along. All roads lead back to Obama, who appointed Kamala Harris's brother-in-law, Tony West, to the Department of Justice, removing oversight on massive settlements, funds from minority cases funneled to law firms, enriching attorneys like the Obamas, schemes extended to Minnesota via Ilhan Omar and Tim Walz's food programs, siphoning billions to Kenya, China, Somalia, tied to Obama's roots and Walz's connections. When Trump won, resignations poured in. The gig was up on this tax dollar scam. When are we going to see some jailed criminals? That'll be the day. Ooh, this will be good. From Rudy Giuliani.
In the meantime, Mayor, what was your reaction when you first heard that, over 315,000 votes in Fulton County lacked the required poll worker signature necessary?
Well, 315,000 votes were pulled out of Fulton County because they were illegal, as they should have been. Trump would have won the election by about 40,000 votes, maybe 50,000 votes. So I really do expect now that the people that attack me over Georgia will come and kiss my feet. Nothing less is acceptable. I told you that was screwed up, and I am right. It was screwed up. I told you that he won that state. And when the president said to the slimy Secretary of State, you can't find me 11,000 votes, he's talking about a potential couple of 100,000 here. Remember, the votes in Fulton County were like 3-1 for him. So if you just take those votes out,
right,
you deprive him of about 145,000 votes, I think.
Right.
And then he loses by 135,000. And Trump wins Georgia. Now, you still have to win another state, but it isn't like there weren't the same problems elsewhere, which they very arrogantly dismiss as saying, even the Wall Street Journal and the Post arrogantly dismiss it as saying, the president deceitfully said that the election was rigged, wrongfully suggested that the election was rigged. They got to get that wrongfully out of there. That's an opinion, boys, not a reality. The reality is that you can now say with a certitude, even beyond a reasonable doubt, that Georgia voted for Trump.
Indeed. So he was right. The election was rigged. But it was for God's purposes, obviously, considering this timeline with what happened with the SEALs, COVID. I mean, for crying out loud, Biden and the vaccine was SEAL number 2. It had to happen. Jesus said as much. These things must come to pass. And it's very likely because the same scroll that's being opened is very likely the same scroll that's in Zechariah 5, which is a curse that goes throughout the whole earth. The seals are basically the steps of the curse. And we've got some, I don't know what seal 5 is. I still don't know what seal 5 is. The martyrs under the altar cry out, "How much longer, Lord, until vengeance is paid for those who were unjustly killed?" And they're given white robes and told to wait a little longer while their brothers and servants are killed as they ought. What does that mean? What can that be? I've started searching other texts. And if you guys have any ideas of anything else, apocrypha or extra biblical, where I can search, where we can look for something that gives an indication on what that could be referring to, let me know. Send me an email to Two Witnesses Live, because I really want to know, because it's so close. February 17th, 2026. It's so close. I think it will help us identify if I've got this timeline right or wrong. If we can identify what seal number 5 is, so we have pieces to the puzzle, right? So based on the evidence that we learned from these seals being opened, it should inform this one, especially the fact that it parallels. So now we're getting into the first mirror image here. The seal number 4 was a 2-part of the Aloxa flood, was the death, and then followed by hell was the response of Operation Iron Sword. So this was the signing of the New Atlantic Charter between the United States and the United Kingdom. So what can that have to do with the saints under the altar saying, "How much longer, Lord, until vengeance is repaid?" And they're told to wait a little while longer, which I think that little while longer is probably this 6-month period. 178 days. Maybe that's when vengeance starts to be repaid. So I don't know. I don't know what that is. Still looking for that one. All right. Let's see. Rudy Giuliani reacts to the recent news that there was 315,000 votes illegally counted in Fulton County, Georgia, during the 2020 election. "I really do expect now that the people who attacked me over Georgia will come and kiss my feet. Nothing less is acceptable. Don't hold your breath, Mayor," Rudy went on to explain. "You can now say with certitude," I don't think I've ever heard that word before. "You can now say with a certitude," is that a certain attitude? "You can now say with a certitude, even beyond a reasonable doubt, that Georgia voted for Trump." Amen. "Now the diamonds must be returned, maybe in the form of 4 more years, and people must be held accountable. Rudy Giuliani, we appreciate all the work you did exposing the 2020 election. Thank you." I wonder if this is the setup for why they kill the 2 witnesses. Is if it starts getting to the point to where where the beast from the bottomless pit says, "I can't handle this for another 4 more years," could be the reason why they rise up and take him out.
You want to talk about violence against political opponents? Let's talk about the fact that Democrats have been labeling President Trump a threat to democracy for the better half of 10 years. Let's talk about how they have compared him to Hitler, one of the worst mass murderers in the history of the world, and that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden weaponized the court system and the justice system in this country against Donald Trump in an attempt to imprison him. He sat through a courthouse for 7 weeks this past year, and the Democrats were hoping he would go to jail for it. That is real political violence that has led to 2 heinous assassination attempts on President Trump's life that, by the grace of God, he was able to escape, and he is here with us today. So yes, President Trump knows a little bit about political violence because he's experienced it himself. And talking about the tragic realities of war that Liz Cheney and her father, Dick Cheney, have got this country into is not political violence. It's talking about the reality of the foreign conflicts that the Washington, D.C. establishment have sold out young Americans to for decades.
Yet, of course, after those attempted assassination attempts on the former president's life, his opponents reached out to him and said they do not accept political violence. That has been a key difference. I do want to play you.
No, please. His opponents are saying to this very day the same rhetoric that led to those 2 assassination attempts. The second attempted assassin on President Trump's life echoed the sentiment that President Trump is a threat to democracy. And if you're a deranged lunatic and you're mentally ill, you will believe that lie. And yes, you will take political violence like we have seen in 2 instances against President Trump. Last week, Tim Walz and Kamala Harris said that everyone who showed up to President Trump's rally at Madison Square Garden was a Nazi. That's despicable, dangerous, divisive rhetoric that is spewed by the Democrat Party every single day. And I am so sick and tired of the media pointing the finger at Donald Trump and saying that he is sowing division in this country. He is not. The media is for pushing hoaxes like the one that you all pushed today, and the Democrat Party is for pushing lies about him. But the good news is Americans don't buy it. And that's why today in 2024, President Trump is more popular than he has been since 2016, because people don't trust the media and they're not buying the Harris campaign's closing argument that he's some great threat to our democracy, because they lived under him for 4 years as president, and our democracy and our country was stronger than it is today.
Yeah, I think we're looking good on the press secretary front. She should be giving us some good own the libs content to cover for the years to come. Good for me, selfishly, but good for us, truth-seeking American people. I'm Zach Costello, and this is the Zach Costello.
I love Carolyn Levitt. That was really good. That was posted by Trump. I love it. This is what he does on holidays. She is telling it like it is. All right, what do we got here? I didn't realize there were so many videos today.
This story broke a few days ago, and yet most Americans still haven't heard a word about it. In a stunning admission, Fulton County, Georgia, has confirmed that 315,000 early votes were certified without the legally required poll worker signatures, meaning they were certified illegally, which means the ballots were never verified to be.
I've had that same thought, Dina, that Trump knew the whole time. I'm so on the fence about whether he knows or not. Like, obviously he's a master strategist, like beyond anybody who's practiced strategy. He's a master strategist. And it really makes me wonder what he is actually aware of. Like, what does he know? Does he know he's one of the 2 witnesses, or does he need to know? Like, you know, like, is he having regular conversations with God? Is he like praying every day? I mean, like, is he making supplication for the saints? Like, there's so many things we don't know, but you can see by his fruit. And that's the thing that really that's the thing. His fruit is what really gets in and triggers people that have that woke mind virus, that have that virus that just causes so much hatred that they want to rise up and like remove him.
Be real as required by law. The mandatory safeguards were skipped and the uncertified votes were approved anyway. Americans were shamed for asking questions, and now officials are forced to admit they were right to ask questions. And here's what makes this even more damning. A Fulton County judge has now kept subpoenas alive, seeking access to those 2020 ballots, confirming this issue is serious enough for the courts to intervene. Yet the mainstream media still refuses to cover this tremendous admission, because acknowledging it would mean admitting they helped silence legitimate questions about fair and free elections. This is not new speculation. This is not a resurfaced claim. This is a new admission on the record, made in court filings and confirmed by county attorneys. State officials have also acknowledged Fulton County.
See, here's the purpose. I can't help but continue to just think about Zechariah 5. This is the thing. Here, let's do it on this one. Zechariah. That curse. It's like all of these things were allowed to take place because that curse. So it says, "Then I turned and raised my eyes and saw there was a flying scroll. And he said to me, 'What do you see?' So I answered, 'I see a flying scroll. Its length is 20 cubits, and its width 10 cubits. Then he said to me, 'This is the curse.'" So this is the one that he's talking to. I think it's an angel. Like if we go back here. So what's interesting is this is right in line with Zerubbabel building the temple. So Zerubbabel lays the foundation, and it's not by power, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord of hosts. And then Zerubbabel, so he laid the foundation, and his hands also finish it, that the Lord of hosts knows he has sent me to you. I believe Zerubbabel is a template of Christ, because it's Jesus who was the cornerstone, right? He laid the foundation. He was the cornerstone. We're the stones built upon him. The Spirit of God resides within us. He resides within the temple. We are the temple of God. And it's interesting that in Revelation 11, so where it talks about the two witnesses, so in Revelation 11, it starts with, "Then I was given a reed like a measuring rod, and the angel stood saying, 'Rise and measure the temple of God, the altar and those who worship there, but leave out the court, which is outside the temple, and do not measure it, for it has been given to the Gentiles, and they will tread the holy city underfoot for 42 months.'" So it's like as the temple is coming to its conclusion, so it's being measured. Like, is it done? Have we got all the stones in the temple? Have all the wheat, have all the profitable ones come to their point of fruitfulness? And so Zerubbabel is like this template of Jesus. The hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of this temple. His hands shall also finish it. That seems like his return, right? His hand shall also finish it. Then you will know that the Lord of hosts has sent me to you. John 14:29, I tell you these things before they happen, so that when they happen, you will believe. For who despised the day of small things? For these 7 rejoice to see the plumb line in the hand of Zerubbabel. They are the eyes of the Lord, which scan to and fro throughout the whole earth. So this is the two witnesses part. Then I answered and said to him, what are these 2 olive trees at the right of the lampstand and at its left? And I further answered and said to him, what are these 2 olive branches that dip into the receptacles of the 2 golden pipes, for which the golden oil drains? Then he answered and said to me, do you not know what these are? I said, no, Lord, no, my Lord. And he said to me, so he said, these are the 2 anointed ones who stand beside the Lord of the whole earth. Then you have the flying scroll. So I don't think it's any coincidence that you've got like these they're kind of parallel, more complementary. Parallel, because I believe they're talking about the same thing. So you've got these 2 witnesses, and they're doing their thing during this curse. So what is this curse? So I answered, I see a flying scroll, its length 20 cubits, its width 10. Then he said to me, this is the curse that goes out over the face of the whole earth. Every thief shall be expelled. It's as if these things were allowed to happen in order to expose the thief, right? Because they're being expelled right now, according to this side of the scroll, and every perjurer shall be expelled according to that side of the scroll. Now, when you read Revelation 6, or Revelation 5, when he's opening the scroll, one of the things about it is that it's written on both sides. Let's see, where is it that he takes the scroll? It's like right in 5 here. And I saw in the right hand of him who sat on the throne a scroll written inside and on the back, sealed with 7 seals. So this one here is it's written on both sides. Right here. Every thief shall be expelled according to this side of the scroll, and every perjurer shall be expelled according to that side of the scroll. It's written on both sides. And then he says, I will send out the curse, says the Lord of hosts. It shall enter the house of the thief. I think that's happening right now. It's entering the house of the thief. They've been stealing billions and billions of dollars, and the house of the one who swears falsely by my name. That is occurring at so many levels. It's occurring politically. It's occurring spiritually. There are many false prophets right now swearing by his name falsely. It shall remain in the midst of his house and consume it with its timbers and stone. That's what I believe we're going through, we're experiencing right now. Back to the video.
violated official election processes in a huge way. And yet there's total silence from national media. And why does this matter now? Because poll workers' signatures are not cosmetic. They are the legal verification step that confirms voting machines were properly opened, properly closed.
You know, I was thinking, one of the reasons why I think so many Christians who think they will recognize the events of the end time, the reason they're missing so many of these things is because their perspective is too small. It's at a personal level to where they think they're going to be these key indicators where they themselves are going to recognize the prophecy being fulfilled, such as this curse. It's just like the opening of the seals. Most people have not, it's highly unlikely that they've associated it with that curse at this global scale. So they're not putting together all of these pieces. They're still waiting for some dude to go into a temple and declare himself God. So they just completely unaware of where we are in the end time events, which is very likely why Jesus says, I will come upon you like a thief. If you do not watch, I will come upon you like a thief. And unfortunately, that's very likely what's going to happen.
And properly reconciled. When those signatures are missing, the verification process itself is broken. Officials insist the issue was procedural, but procedures are the safeguard. Without them, voters are asked to blindly trust explanations given after certification instead of safeguards enforced before certification. Georgia, quote, hand counted the ballots in a controversial audit in 2020, but it is now admitted they counted uncertified ballots. They never bothered to check if the ballots were lawfully verified before certification.
Thieves and perjurers?
Meaning a mandatory statutory condition was skipped. In short, counting ballots later does not make an improperly verified certification legal. And remember, in 2020, Georgia was decided by a mere 11,779 votes, and the consequences went far beyond the presidency. Georgia's election results flipped 2 U.S. Senate seats, costing Republicans Senate control and helping deliver a full federal Democratic trifecta in Washington, fundamentally altering the balance of power for years. This is not only about relitigating the past, it's about confronting a present-day reality. If election violations can be admitted years later with no investigation, no consequences, and no reform hearings, what message does that send heading into the next election cycle? And this is why the media...
All right, we've got to start skipping some of these things because you see where this little bar is down here? I don't know if you can see it. You can see this little bar right there on the side. We've got a long ways to go. Like, that's how much he posted over the holidays. So maybe we'll start cutting some of these off.
Friendly reminder, it doesn't take 60 votes to pass legislation in the Senate. It takes a simple majority. It takes 60 votes to force debate to come to a close. But there are other ways of getting to a final vote. A final vote cast at a simple majority in the Senate that don't involve cloture. All you have to do is keep debating until nobody shows up to debate, or until everybody has exhausted their right to speak. They can only speak twice on the same discrete legislative proposal.
This is a repost. He's posted that before. Yep, another repost there. Let's see. It takes 60 votes to pass a bill in the Senate, right? Nope. It takes 60 votes to achieve cloture, a mechanism to bring debate to a close. Passing a bill takes a simple majority. It's possible to pass legislation without cloture when no one's speaking. End the zombie filibuster. And you thought he forgot about that.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the benefits of getting rid of the zombie filibuster. What we haven't talked about are the downsides. There are two basic downsides. Downside number one, if you want to thwart President Trump's agenda and you want to do it easily, you're not going to like this move because it's going to make it a lot harder. Number two, if you are a U.S. Senator, you're going to have to work harder, spend a lot more time on the Senate floor, probably more time voting than you would otherwise. Let me know if those terms are acceptable to you.
Love that he's posting these videos. I'm sorry, I just snorted in the mic. But I love these videos. There are two reasons one might oppose ending the zombie filibuster. Number one, it would require senators trying to thwart Trump's agenda to work harder and speak to filibuster. It requires senators trying to advance Trump's agenda to work harder. Are those terms acceptable to you? Yes, please.
If I'm remembering correctly, there were several states involved.
And which time period are you referring to?
This was 2020.
Before or after the election?
During the election.
In your examination of any of these Dominion systems, have you seen any indication?
You know, I remember watching those videos about them, questioning the Dominion systems. I remember the people who got a hold of them that found the back doors, that exposed the fact that they had to be connected to the internet, even though they were claiming they weren't connected to the internet, and then nothing came of it. Is that what this is?
Non-election personnel remotely accessing a Dominion system.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
I too have reviewed a series of emails produced by Dominion in which they're discussing remoting into Gwinnett County, Georgia.
Yep.
You also mentioned Dominion remotely connecting to election systems, but you don't have any evidence that occurred in Georgia, correct?
There was one county. I've seen a lot of Dominion emails. I've had to translate Dominion emails from Serbian to English to verify the technical questions I was being asked about them, to verify that it was translated properly. So
it's your testimony that there is evidence of Dominion remotely accessing Georgia election equipment?
yes, on the one county. It was included with stuff that I was researching and reading through, considering Colorado. Michigan was also involved, and there were other ones.
To your understanding, is Dominion able to remotely connect to these election systems?
Yes.
Are they able to do that without detection?
Yes.
And are you aware of any instances in which that has occurred?
Yes.
Can you identify those instances?
One would be the Denver, Colorado server was granted, or requested to grant Belgrade, only Belgrade. I did search. There is a Belgrade, Montana. Again, why would Montana need to connect into a Colorado file transfer server as part of the election system? And there are other components and things that were done in the background concerning the database and the configure of the database server that still do not have an engineering change order, because if somebody works in an operational environments for a lot of different things, what I will tell you is sometimes things break or you have a problem and you have to fix it. And you submit a change request, or in this case, an engineering change order that's retroactive, right? You want to go back and make sure that you record the process so that you have change management and integrity of the system. If you do not record changes, you lead yourself down a very bad road.
I estimated that somewhere between 80 and 90% were going to Joe Biden. Throughout the day, it kept making me sicker and sicker every time I saw another Biden, Biden, Biden. And then I'm going through batches. 100% of the batches were Biden.
That's a statistic.
I find that statistically impossible.
Statistically impossible. Man, I remember all these videos, and I was just like, yeah. A lot of people were like, yeah, the evidence is coming out. They're going to prove it. They're going to overturn the election. I remember there were even these, the Yoon guy, he kept saying, man, I was so naive back at the beginning of that election. When I was watching, I've since blocked so many false prophets as a result of this, because there were so many people, and Chris Yoon stands out as one of the worst offenders, who kept receiving visions and dreams and talking to Jesus and talking to angels, saying that the evidence was going to come out, they were going to overturn the election, and it exposed these people as thieves and perjurers, taking the Lord's name falsely ascribing the Lord's names to things. A lot of false prophets doing that. A lot of people who are saying God's giving them visions and dreams and telling them things, giving them special information, and they've been proved liars and deceivers. And I believe that they should repent, obviously. I don't think that makes them unsavable. It just means you're an idiot and you need to stop doing that stuff. You need to stick to facts. The facts aren't going to lie. You know, God is visible in all of creation. If you just stick to the facts and pay attention to what's going on, you don't need to make stuff up. You don't need to say that you had a dream or a vision in order to signify that what you're saying is of any value or importance. And I think that's been Trump's position, which is one of the things that, like Dina was saying, is just like he's peaceful about the things that have been happening to him. Even when he was shot, the dude was on stage at an arena the next day. He definitely knows more than what he's leading us to believe, or more than what's visible. His fruit is very good.
Is it going too far if I said that the Democrats are a criminal organization?
No, not at all.
The entire entity. Now, I don't mean every voter. You know, voters probably are just...
It really feels like this is the harvest where the wheat and the tares are being separated, because it seems as though, you know, people are picking sides. And to me, it just, my mind associates, I'm a simple guy. I really am. One of the reasons why I'm so good at solving problems is I'm really dumb. I have to break things down to their simplest components so that I can understand them and work with them. I have a hard time with highly complicated things. So it stands to reason that it could be as simple as the right and the left. You know, I'm aware of the people who are like, you know, right and left, they're both, you know, wings of the same bird, yada, yada, yada. But could the harvest be that simple that, you know, the curse that's occurring right now is simply dividing the people? Pick a side. You know, which side are you going to be on? Are you gonna go with the left side that's absolutely crazy, full of hate and murder and deceit and lying, and that gets anger when when they see somebody speaking the truth, and when they, you know, threaten their existence? It seems like that's a kind of a burning to me. You know, the wheat and the tares being gathered up together to be burned.
You know, going blah, 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 everybody's bad. Democrats have some problems. Republicans have some problems, but I prefer the Democrats. So most voters, I think, are blissfully unaware of just how much crime is happening. But if you look at it collectively, here are just some of the things. So you've got thousands, if not millions, of NGOs.
And maybe seal number 5 has to do with, because so many of us right now are wondering, when are we going to see justice for all of these things that have occurred over the last 7-8 years? I wonder if there's an association with that with seal number 5, because I'm, for one, I'm sitting back going, how much longer, Lord, until we see justice?
We know now that
Vengeance.
The NGOs are essentially money laundering operations. So those would be mostly Democrat criminal organizations, or at least, yeah, they'd be involved in something that would be, I think you would call it money laundering. We know that these SNAP funds were massively stolen, and that was primarily by Democrats. We might find out that Act Blue is a criminal organization. I think we will. Some people say that our elections were rigged primarily by Democrats. That would be crime. You could argue how proven that is or not, but in my opinion, I think the rigging of elections is just a fact. And I think it leans heavily toward the Democrats. Not that no Republicans ever cheated, but probably there's a pretty big difference in scale. Then there's everything in California. Basically, it seems like every dime that California gets, it just disappears. You know, the fire recovery money didn't go to the people who were recovering. The bullet train never happened. The money for the homeless didn't help anybody. So pretty much everything in California is even worse than Minnesota, and it's all criminal. To me, it looks criminal. And then you got this whole operation where the Democrats find ways to fund teachers who are all Democrats, and then they donate to Democrat people. So you got some, some kind of circular money laundering thing. Then you've got the main Democrats who pulled the Russia collusion hoax. You've got the Clinton, what was that big Clinton initiative?
Which one?
That was probably just a money laundering
The
thing.
one for Kenya?
Yeah, the Clinton Foundation.
Yep.
Thank you. So pretty much every major story that involves gigantic fraud seems to be Democrats. Now, just to be clear, I'm not giving Republicans a pass. Maybe they're just better at it, right? It's hard to believe that all the crime is just on one side of the political aisle. That would be weird,
Could
right?
be a heart. Could be a separation.
But am I wrong? Am I in a bubble? Am I in some kind of a bubble where I'm only seeing the Democrat bad behavior? I hear lots of accusations about Trump personally, but that stuff tends to be all transparent and public.
Yeah.
He's not hiding it. It's in the news. You can tell he did this with crypto. You could tell he did this with whatever. So you could disagree or not like what Trump does, but that's still not Republicans.
That's what I was thinking of, Haiti.
That would be something you don't like about Trump. So am I wrong that this is so imbalanced toward Democrats that if you said the Democrats are, at least as a party, not the individual
Well,
voters.
the thing is a lot of
it
there
seems
was
like a criminal
massive
organization.
There was
And
massive
I mean that
walkaway
without any
movements.
hyperbole.
There was a massive walkaway movement still going on where people are leaving the Democrat Party because they no longer represent, why they were in the party in the first place. I mean, both Donald Trump and Elon Musk were Democrats. They're not Democrats anymore. All right. Scott Adams breaks down all the ways the Democrat Party is a criminal organization: money laundering via NGOs, theft of SNAP funds, Act Blue, election rigging, misappropriation of California public funds, circular money laundering. California. That might be a new favorite name for that, because that is very true. That's where people go to suffer that woman Jezebel. Circular money laundering and education funding, Russia collusion hoax, Clinton Foundation money laundering, general involvement in gigantic frauds. That seems like a criminal organization, and I mean that without any hyperbole. Yeah. Man, another video.
Nothing that the Trump administration do, no matter what it is, even if it's something very, very, very positive, he's not given credit for it by many members of the media. That's aggravating. I've said this before, but it's frustrating sometimes that Washington, D.C., it's a Democratic town, not just the Democrats in Congress, but the think tanks, the academics.
My wife is telling me, don't forget, it's the Sabbath. So I guess that means hurry it up. We may actually have to do this as a two-parter. Maybe we'll just do Donald Trump for the first part, and then tomorrow evening I'll come on and cover Elon Musk. So basically, finish this so we can go enjoy the Sabbath, and tomorrow when the Sabbath's over, I guess I'll do we'll just do a short one with Elon Musk or something. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. See how far I can push this. Senator Kennedy is a national treasure. He is. I love Senator Kennedy. Is a national treasure. Yeah, I like him.
Hi, it's Marco Rubio. I'm the National Security Advisor and the Secretary of State and the Archivist right now, the acting Archivist for the 47th President of the United States, the best president we've ever had, and it's an honor to be able to do this job. We have a lot of achievements this year. Let's start with the peace deals. One peace deal after another. India, Pakistan were ready to go to war, a very dangerous war. The president stopped it. Cambodia and Thailand, we got that peace deal put in place. Azerbaijan and Armenia, a war that could have started that would have been terrible. We put that into place. And of course, Gaza, that long war, nobody saw an end to it. The president got involved, brought it to an end, and with a plan for long-term stability and security. Beyond that, we went to Europe this year, and the president got NATO to do something no president has ever been able to get NATO to do, and that is increase their defense spending to 5%. Just a few years ago, they were at 2%. 5% for all these countries, an incredible achievement by President Trump and his team here. Beyond that, I'm very proud of the reforms under the president's leadership that we've done at the State Department. We got rid of USAID. We brought all that foreign aid under the State Department so that now, when we give money to countries, we know where the money's going, and we know we're helping our allies and our friends and not just enriching some, third-party group that's making a bunch of money from your taxpayer dollars. We also help secure the border. That's been a responsibility of the Homeland Security Department, but we had a role to play, not just in the deals we made with other countries to send people back. We've got more countries than ever accepting their people that are in this country illegally from their countries. They're taking them back. They're also helping us stop them from coming here in the first place. This is a great achievement. So on issue after issue, the president has kept his promise to the American people. He's keeping us safe by taking the war to the drug cartels.
Yeah.
The drug cartels that are poisoning and killing our people. President Trump, he promised to do it, and he's stopping them. He's doing it. He's keeping his promise to you. 2026 is going to bring more challenges, but we have a great president and a great team that he's built, and we can't wait to see the exciting achievements of the year to come. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year to everybody. The best is yet to come.
Amen. All right, President of Peace, results for America. Ended 8 wars, NATO 5% spending, US aid reformed, historic agreements to secure the border, war on drug cartels. Break down how President Trump and the State Department kept their promise. America first, always. What's this?
Add up to. Why are they engaged in all this? What is their objective here? It's the Somalification of America. In other words, when you see the state of Somalia, that's what they want for America at the end of the day, because it's easier to rule over an empire of ashes than it is for the Democratic Party to rule over a functioning, Western, high-trust society with a strong middle class. Look how powerful the Democrat Party became in Minnesota once they flooded it with 100,000 Somalians. Once the elections were decided, right, by clan rivalries and ethnic feuds. Once that happened, the Democrat Party became permanently powerful in Minnesota. They became permanently powerful in the Twin Cities. That's their model for America, to make the whole country into a version of Somalia. And everything they do gets down to that. So when you ask me what I'm thankful for, this Thanksgiving, I praise God every day that Donald Trump is our president, and we've gone from 30% inflation, 20 million illegals, unlimited refugees.
Yeah. Somalia. Who would have ever thought? I didn't. All right, what is this? This is Stephen Miller. Look how powerful the Democratic Party became in Minnesota once they flooded it with 100,000 Somalians. Yep. All right, what do we got here? This is another repost from Donald Trump. Democrats admit they were wrong about President Trump.
And then I want to tell you that I'm not too proud to say that I am wrong about Trump. I'm a proud Democrat.
How so?
And he's done a lot of things. Immigration. I'm happy about what's happening with immigration. I thought the stock market would tank, and I'm pretty happy with my 401k. There's a few things that I just thought things would go wrong, and I'm very happy.
Well, that is big of you to say. It'll probably lose you some friends in this polarized environment that we're in right now. But there's nothing wrong with being happy with results.
A lot of calls saying the exact same thing. And the sad part is that she feels that she can't say it, you know. But anyway, David from Tamaqua, Pennsylvania.
Hi, Mr. Carmel. First of all, I'm a registered Democrat who voted for Trump. I thought this would never happen, but some of the Democratic Party is finally walking up and saying President Trump is doing something good. They were meeting at a Senate meeting. What they're doing is great. What they started doing is to reunite themselves and reunite us. So please keep it up. Keep meeting. Keep talking. Keep fixing things. Keep reuniting us.
Okay, we get the point. Got to keep moving. Got to keep this moving if we have any chance of covering Elon today. We'll see how it goes. Democrats finally admitting they were wrong. All right, what is this?
Explain this.
Actually, since these are double posts, let's go up here and read this first. The Affordable Care Act did to health care what federal loans did to tuition cost. Gentleman spells it out perfectly.
Explain this to me like I'm a 6-year-old. Barack Obama in 2010 blows up completely, along with the Democrats and only the Democrats, the entire health insurance system and implements Obamacare. The Affordable Care Act, we are told, is going to cut our expenses down for our health care to about the price of your monthly cable bill. Those were his words, not mine. And he said you can keep your doctor and keep your plan and keep your provider, no problem, except one problem. Shortly thereafter, the Affordable Care Act becomes unaffordable for all Americans in the lower to middle income ranges unless they have subsidies. So the subsidies, which are paid for by the taxpayers, go to the insurance companies, not to the insured. And the insurance companies raise premiums and deductibles to a level no one can afford. Fast forward to 2020, and Joe Biden gives us the American Rescue Plan in 2021. The American Rescue Plan, because of COVID, expands those subsidies from lower and middle income people to all people with no income caps. Well, so what did they do? They said it's only temporary. They put an end date of December 31st, 2023 on the expanded subsidies. But then that date came and they said, holy crap, when the subsidies end, no one will be able to afford the Affordable Care Act. So what do? We extend it to the end of 2025. And here we are, near the end of 2025. And what do we have? The same problem. When the subsidies expire at the end of the year, no one will be able to afford a plan in the quote-unquote Affordable Care Act. So what is the solution the Democrats come up with? Shut down the government. Shut down the government, then run to every television camera that you can find, look into it and scream, The Republicans ruined your health care. The Republicans destroyed health care. And they think that shit's going to work.
Yeah, it's not going to work. You know Trump's got some master plan behind it that's going to just prove them wrong. I forgot about that. I forgot that they told us we could keep our doctor and our same insurance company. I had forgotten we were forced to switch thanks to Obama. I had a great doctor before Obamacare.
More Americans were killed because of Biden and Kamala Harris's open border policies than 75 years of combat fatalities. And I did the math.
Whoa, wait a minute. What?
And if you don't believe it, I'm not surprised, but do it yourself. Since the end of hostilities in 1945, if you add up every KIA until today, so that's all Americans killed in Korea, Vietnam, Grenada, Panama, Gulf 1, Gulf 2, GWAT, Afghanistan, the total is 103,000 Americans in uniform killed. In the Biden administration, I did this for my Newsmax show, I went to the CDC website during the second year of his open border policies. It's hard to find, but it was on the CDC website. In one 12-month period, 110,000 Americans were killed by fentanyl and illicit drug overdoses. Wow. That's why we're at war with the cartels, and that's why President Trump designated them.
Ooh, good to know. Facts to share with your liberal Aunt Karen over Christmas dinner. All right, this is the United States Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy and Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller. Comey, Clapper, Brennan, Monaco, and Barack Hussein Obama all conspired and worked together to sabotage, undermine, unravel, and overthrow the United States government and the democratic institutions and structures of this country. The Russiagate hoax, the Russiagate conspiracy, and all of the assaults against our liberties, along with it, the pre-dawn raids, the handcuffing of innocent Americans, the Espionage Act against President Trump's campaign and staff, the removal of National Security Advisor, one fake indictment, one fake charge after another, the special counsel, all of it was an unrelenting attempt to overthrow the government the American people voted for. When are they going to be tried?
Comey, Clapper, Brennan, Obama, Monaco, all conspired together, all worked together to try to sabotage, undermine, unravel the democratic institutions and structures of this country. The Russiagate hoax, the Russiagate conspiracy, and all of the assaults against our liberties that went with it, the pre-dawn raids, the handcuffing of innocent Americans, the espionage against President Trump's campaign and staff, the removal of his national security advisor, one fake indictment, one fake charge after another, the special counsel, all of it was a unrelenting attempt to overthrow the government the American people voted for.
Yeah.
I cannot find words harsh enough to condemn the conduct of these conspirators, these insurrectionists.
Yeah. Agreed. It's an ad. That looks like an ad. I don't think it is, though. It says 94 million Obamacare fraud. Dead people getting paid. Democrats want to keep this. We need reform. Pass Trump's plan.
The Government Accountability Office just came out with a new report this past week, Laura, and it is astounding. Just for example, over the last 2 years, they submitted 24 totally fraudulent applications for these Unaffordable Care Act subsidies, okay? 23 out of 24 were approved. There were no Social Security numbers provided, no verification of income, or even citizenship, okay? Of course not, right? Tens of thousands of dollars paid to each one of those to the insurance companies for people that do not exist, okay?
Yeah. So you agree with him or disagree?
They broke the system, and then they come here saying that we own it if we don't throw more subsidies, pour more diesel on the fire to the fire that they started. What my Democratic colleagues are proposing is an insurance company enrichment scheme. It's literally what they're doing, is printing money in the Treasury and giving it to insurance companies.
Yeah.
That's their solution for healthcare. Enriching insurance companies that are the very people that are telling the American people which care they can get and not get. And now you hold the government hostage for 45 days and then try to come lecture Republicans about it when you've been holding the American people hostage to a broken healthcare system for 15 years.
Yes, indeed. All right, what is this? Elite Democrats, a bunch of hypocrites, and are from the same class.
Nancy Pelosi, Barbara Boxer, Dianne Feinstein, Kamala Harris, Jerry Brown, Gavin Newsom. They're all from the same place. They're all from the same class. They're all very wealthy. They all have estates, living in a $9 million home. Jerry's got a big Grass Valley estate. Feinstein had one of the most beautiful homes at Tahoe. Barbara Boxer's at Rancho Mirage. But their policies made sure that people where I live can't buy a house because of the regulations. It's so hard to do. Or they made sure that food is very expensive, or there's no natural gas. And because it doesn't affect them, because they have enough money, that they don't really care about the rates. They can either get their income and capital gains or get right up, but they don't really worry about it. And then something like Los Angeles happens, and now that everybody's dumbfounded. Oh my God, I'm not insulated from this. No, you're not.
Yeah. Act Blue. Let's see. President Trump targets the Democrats' major money laundering outlet, Act Blue, giving the Department of Justice 6 months to produce a report with accountability. Act Blue is alleged to be involved in massive election fraud in 2020 and 2024 with foreign involvement, child trafficking, and massive money laundering, especially in illegal campaign donations, bypassing campaign finance laws. Act Blue is the Democrats' major money platform, which raised $16 billion or more since 2004. This is a huge development. First it was USAID. Now it's time for Act Blue to be dismantled. There was a new memo signed on Thursday directing the Attorney General to investigate if foreign nationals are using Act Blue platform to bypass campaign finance laws. Trump wants a report out in 6 months. Democrats are calling this probe a dangerous abuse of power. If this is just the same thing I just read, we'll skip it. Oh, man, that's 11 minutes. We're probably going to skip most of it.
President Trump is directing the Justice Department to investigate Act Blue. This is a Democratic donation platform. And the focus as the allegations about illegal straw donors and foreign contributions. Mark Meredith is live in Washington with more. This has been brewing for a while, Mark. What do we need to know?
Dana, for years, you're right about this, but this is a big development. The White House is directing the Attorney General to investigate the Democratic Party's top fundraising platform. It's called Act Blue, and the president...
All right, I guess we get the point. I pretty much read, I think this is pretty much what's covered. We're going to skip this just for time. All right, what is this one? This one is Bombshell. Megyn Kelly drops the truth on Ilhan Omar. Citizenship scandal. Well said, Megyn. Okay, that one doesn't want to play.
Okay, let me just read the following. And they're citing this Matt Tardio on X. Ilhan Omar claims that she obtained her citizenship when her father was naturalized in 2000, just months before her 18th birthday. But there's a problem. No record has been found of his naturalization paperwork. In response to a FOIA request for her father's N-400 paperwork filed by A.J. Kern in June of 2023, the National Records Center was unable to locate any filings under his name. Question, can she be denaturalized and deported if this is substantiated? Answer, yes. If fraud was involved in her father's alleged naturalization, then her citizenship could be on the chopping block because that would be immigration fraud by the dad that would affect her. And that would be a political earthquake, Dave Smith, that if she's not a U.S. citizen, she can't be a U.S. House member and she could be deported. I mean, I just want to give you that little nugget going off into the weekend.
Wow. Yeah, great. I hope they're able to. She's a pain.
Look, they're doing...
Actually, let's go read the post first. Republicans cut taxes, cut red tape, and unleash American energy to lower costs and grow jobs. New York Democrats would rather raise taxes and drive up costs to sabotage that progress than let their constituents get real relief.
Look, they're doing everything in New York to sabotage everything President Trump and the Republicans have done. The New Yorkers are really excited about these things happening. They're raising taxes. They're continuing our catastrophically bad energy policy, which is the real reason we have high unaffordability in New York. It's because of all the extras that come from having, an unstable grid, really high energy costs, really high wages, really high regulatory regime. And as you were just talking about with the...
I think we get the point. All right. Let's see this one. Good job, Marco Rubio.
I have to tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State. I yield back.
May I respond?
That was going to be good.
You may sit.
Well, first of all, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job based on what I know.
Well, that's just
Your
a
record
flippant
and what you
statement,
stand
Mr.
for.
Secretary.
Can I respond, Mr. Chairman?
You may.
Chairman?
I didn't
Okay.
ask.
Senator,
questions.
please let the Secretary have
I'd be
the floor.
happy to, but then I can respond to his.
Your time's up, Senator, and willfully used, I might add. Your remarks do not represent the view of this committee.
Well, Mr.
Secretary, please.
Well, I'd like to. I can't respond to everything he said because much of these are untrue, but I'll go through a few. First of all, I'm actually very proud of the work we've done with USAID. For example, I don't regret cutting $10 million for male circumcisions in Mozambique. I don't know how that makes us stronger and more prosperous as a nation.
I raised
don't regret
Sudan, Mr.
psychosocial support services.
I raised
USAID.
Sudan, Mr. Secretary.
Can I respond,
not
Mr.
Senator,
Chairman, or do
Senator, I'd ask you to suspend. You had 7 straight minutes of
I chose to
railing on-
use my time that way, Mr. Chairman. That's my right to
Please
use
suspend,
my time that way.
Secretary Rubio.
Well, I can go on. I mean, there's other things here. We spent $227,000 for Big Cat's YouTube channel from USAID.
Whoa.
We spent $14 million for social cohesion in Mali, whatever the hell that means. So I can go on and on. I got the list here, and there's more. I didn't even bring the whole list. In the case of El Salvador, absolutely. Absolutely. We deported gang members, including the one that you had a margarita with. And that guy is a human trafficker, and that guy is a gangbanger, and the evidence is going to be clear. In the days to come, you're going to see who you went to defend.
Senator,
I'm sorry,
please,
Mr. Chairman.
Secretary
No.
Rubio has the floor.
Mr. Chairman, he can't make unsubstantiated
Senator,
comments like that.
Secretary Rubio has the floor. You had
Secretary
your time.
Rubio should take that testimony to the federal court of the
Senator-
United States because
Well,
he hasn't done it under oath.
Here's another point, okay?
That guy's scared.
There is a division in our government between the federal branch and the judicial branch. No judge and the judicial branch cannot tell me or the president.
Just a reminder, the curse goes into the homes of the thieves and perjurers and stays there until they're burned to the ground.
how to conduct foreign policy. No judge can tell me how I have to outreach to a foreign partner or what I need to say to them. And if I do reach that foreign partner and talk to them, I have under no obligation to share that with the judiciary branch. Just like a judge cannot order me to negotiate with a foreign minister of Russia, they cannot order me to negotiate with a foreign minister or the president of El Salvador. And if I did negotiate with them, which we have responded to them, and we've told them we've had communications with the president of El Salvador, I am under no obligation under our division of powers in this country and to share with the judicial branch how I conducted diplomacy of the United States. It would actually be counterproductive. If I started sharing with courts, or frankly, with the media, my conversations with foreign leaders and all of their details, no foreign leader would talk to me again, and we would break trust with them. So I have complied with every court order. What I won't comply with is an order to disclose what I'm saying and what we're talking about with a foreign leader, because then they won't talk to me. Diplomacy doesn't work that way. About the student visas, let me say this. I don't deport anybody, and I don't snatch anybody. The State Department does not have officers in the street snatching everybody. What I do is revoke visas, and it's very simple. A visa is not a right. It is a privilege. People apply for student visas to come into the United States and study. And if you tell me that you're coming to the United States to lead campus crusades, to take over libraries and try to burn down buildings and acts of violence, we're not going to give you a visa.
Is that what Ms. Ostork did?
We're not going to give you a visa.
Is that what she did? Come on, Mr. Secretary.
And every single one of these cases, the factors are different.
Senator,
the bottom line is, if you're coming here to stir up trouble on our campuses, we will deny you a visa. And if you have a visa,
First Amendment apply to
we'll
people
revoke
living in the United States?
And we're going to do more. There are more coming. We're going to continue to revoke the visas of people who are here as guests and are disrupting our higher education facilities. People are paying money. These kids pay money to go to school, and they have to walk through a bunch of lunatics
to the
who are here on student
newspapers
visas.
disrupting the foreign policy of the United States.
I want to do more. I hope we can find more of these people.
Pathetic, Mr.
In fact, the other day, some guys led a riot. I forgot what university it was, and I asked, please, can you find the arrest records of all the people that were arrested at that riot at that campus? Because if any of them have a visa, we're going to revoke it.
I feel so much safer when you lock up people like Ms. Ostork, Ms. Secretary.
We've had enough.
Sometimes that's better than reality TV. Colorado faces a $1 billion budget deficit, slow job growth, torn roads, sky-high taxes, and severe housing shortages. The Trump administration is investigating HUD fraud, suspecting over 3,000 ineligible recipients, including 200 deceased, misused taxpayer funds, like in Governor Tim Walz's state. These fraud-ridden states lack accountability for billions in debt and missing revenue, ripping off hard-working Americans.
Colorado is in a $1 billion budget deficit. Job growth is very slow. We cannot fix our roads. The taxes are astronomical. And
all right, I think we get the point. We're going to have to start skipping these just for time. All right, breaking. Roseanne Barr. I love Roseanne Barr. What does she got to say? Roseanne, speaking the truth, abolish mail-in ballots or it will happen again. Oh, yeah, good point. Here you go.
They stole that election in 2020. They gave us a goddamn COVID so we'd send in those mail order ballots and all that bullshit, and the post office cheated too. Everybody in this country cheated us out of our president in 2020. They made us sick. I'm sorry.
Go, baby!
Frustrated with
They
Tucker.
overthrew the United States of America. They overthrew the constitutional republic of the United States of America. And then they covered it up with their January 6th bullshit.
Wow.
With their insurrection.
Go, Roseanne.
Because the first thing President Trump did, God bless that man, and I love him, and everybody knows it. I love him more now than I ever loved him, and I loved him pretty damn good.
Gotta love Roseanne. Love Roseanne. That's amazing. You go, girl. All right. From Chicago 1 Ray, read truth by President Trump. Fulton County certified a contested election, and it took them only 5 years to admit it. They evacuated a polling center claiming there was a water main leak. I remember that. Started pulling suitcases out from underneath the table and started stuffing ballots into machines. No one was held to account in Georgia, not SOS Raffensperger or Governor Kemp. Trump challenged the results and was indicted for it. Trump won Georgia by a lot, and everyone knows it.
All right, a couple quick thoughts on the Fulton County rule violation in the 2020 election that was just finally adjudicated before the state election board. First and foremost, this is exactly why Burt Jones, Brandon Beach, and myself called for a special session at the Georgia General Assembly back in 2020. We were chastised by Jeff Duncan and a bunch of our party leadership, but the reality is this should have been investigated in 2020 before the election was certified, not in 2025. That brings me to my second point. Why in the world is the state of Georgia having to rely on private citizens playing private investigator on their own time to uncover these irregularities? Fulton County was under observation by the Secretary of State's office in 2020. This should have been caught by them. This should have been investigated by them, and it should have been done immediately. And that brings me to my third and final point. It's always Fulton County.
Okay. Let's see, a must watch. Roseanne is amazing. He liked her so much he posted it twice. Oh, are we getting some double posts here? A bad Colorado governor. Yep, we already saw that one. Throw her out of the U.S. now. Agreed.
Okay, let me just read the following. And they're citing this Matt Tardio on X. Ilhan Omar claims that she obtained her citizenship when...
We already watched that one. Oh, good. Are these some of these ones double so we can move on? Let's see, to all incompetent liberals.
A lot of these liberals, leftist Marxists in the United States of America.
Let's see, what is this post about? Attention, Democrats and progressive white allies.
A lot of these liberals, leftist Marxists in the United States of America, they talk about socialism and they talk about communism. And a lot of these Democrats sitting down in the U.S. office, me as a Mexican, I can tell you, all these white privileged liberals, they have never lived in a third world class country. They have never lived what we have lived. They have never experienced narco-terrorism, dismembered bodies, decapitated heads, extortion, kidnappings, missing women and missing people, extraction of organs. They have never experienced what is a dictator in a regime transforming out of socialism. And in your political language, it is all the fault of the sanctions and the embargo. All of that, that's what you use. But you don't come over here to the main place and try to cross that border. I don't see you doing that. I'm walking right now on the border of Simón Bolívar, where millions of migrants from Venezuela on an exile and on an exodus. They left their country because of necessity, because of the regime, and because of the dictator, Nicolás Maduro, Diosdado Cabello, and Padrino López. Because of those three, they control the fractions of Cartel de los Soles, Tren de Aragua, and all the regimes. They have basically destroyed the peace of the Venezuelan people. All of you that you pandered to the narco regime of Nicolás Maduro, you have never walked the Darien Gap and suffered the consequences as the Venezuelan people have. But you advocate for a dictator, and you advocate for a guy that is basically punishing and torturing their own people. Right here, I'm standing in the middle of this bridge where it's the limitations between Venezuela and Colombia. I'm going to go all the way to the limitation. So you will have the gall challenging you, the white progressive mercenary liberal that is advocating for Nicolás Maduro, Padrino López, and the dictator Diosdado Cabello. I'm challenging you to cross this line with your white privilege liberal agenda. I'm challenging you to come over here and have the balls to cross over here and see what happens to you with this dictator. Just recently, I was just standing over here doing a hit with my network, and they send the National Guard and some colectivo on a motorcycle to threaten my life, to say if I don't stop recording, they will push me to the other side so the regime can hold me for captive. So I want to know, to all of you, that you advocate for socialism, and you say, this is not socialism, this is not communism, why don't you come over here and cross this line? I'm right here. But you advocate over there in the United States of America, and you're a tough guy on your social media, all on your social media platforms, but you don't come over here. You don't try to cross this line. It's so easy to advocate on social media, but it's so hard for you to come over here and try to cross with your white privilege this place right here. To all you white progressive mercenary liberals, Hispanic liberals, black liberals that they're defending Marxism, socialism, communism, and a leftist progressive mercenary woke agenda, I advise you to come over here and see if you have the...
Sorry, it's hard to not stop watching. He's kind of addictive to watch. He's got a point. You got a lot of people who are speaking out about things they don't know and they don't understand. Like calling Trump a king or a dictator or a Nazi or Hitler. Go spend a day in a country with a dictator. See how you feel. I feel him. I hear what you're saying, dude. I hear what you're saying. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem revealed in Tuesday's cabinet meeting with President Trump that half of all visa holders in Minnesota submitted fraudulent applications. That wacko, Tim Walz, either is an idiot or he did it on purpose.
You told me to look into Minnesota and their fraud on visas and their programs. 50% of them are fraudulent. Wow. Which means that wacko Governor Walz either is an idiot or he did it on purpose. And I think he's both, sir. He brought people in there illegally that never should have been in this country, said they were somebody that they're not. They said they were married to somebody who was their brother or somebody else. Fraudulent visa applications, signed up for government programs, took hundreds of billions of dollars from the taxpayers, and we're going to remove them and we're going to get our money back.
Yeah. Good. Awesome, Caroline. She is the best.
UCLA. Bring it on, Gavin. This administration is well within its legal right to do this, and we want to ensure that our colleges and our universities are respecting the First Amendment rights and the religious liberties of students on their campuses, and UCLA has failed to do that. And I have a whole list of examples that I will forward to Gavin Newsom's press office if he hasn't seen them himself.
This is, personally, I think Fani Willis was trying to build her a political career off going after Trump. Just another corrupt Democrat.
Just walking out of corrupt Fani Willis's testimony before the Senate. You've been following along. We've been calling for this state Senate to investigate and defund Fani Willis. Well, now it's finally started. She showed up, and most of her answers revolved some kind of crazy race theory that she's come up with. We learned that her value politically has went up nearly $600 million, and she's keeping track of this throughout the entire time she was going after President Trump and the 18 others. What we learned today was absolutely astonishing, ridiculous, and now let's get to some accountability here in the Georgia State Senate.
Wow. Yeah. How much longer, Lord? How much longer? I've been calling out the 2020 elections from the beginning while the political so this is from Senator Colton Moore, retruth by President Trump. While the political establishment looked the other way, I fought to force a special session in the Georgia Senate to review voter fraud in our state. That's why I'm running for Congress, to confront the issues others would rather ignore. Even when it's uncomfortable or unpopular with the political elites. Help me secure our election by sending me to Washington. We're not going to watch all this, just a start of it to make sure it's the same.
Donald Trump was right the entire time. The election in 2020 was stolen. And before all these Republicans start crying wolf now, let's remember who was crying wolf in the very beginning before anyone else. I was. I called for a special session officially before any...
All right, fair enough. Go run for Congress. All right. Good job, Carolyn Levitt. This is how you handle fake news.
The case against Letitia James was extensively investigated for 5 months, and President Trump's handpicked Attorney General Eric Siebert could not find any evidence that he committed a crime. So is the president saying here it doesn't matter if there's a crime, he just wants his political enemies to be charged?
Well, let me just walk you through Letitia James. Letitia James completely abused her oath of office. Letitia James was actively and openly engaged in lawfare. You talk about weaponizing the Department of Justice. What was Letitia James's campaign slogan? It was prosecute Donald Trump. She was saying she was going to prosecute Donald Trump before she even knew if Donald Trump committed a crime, which of course we did not. Those are not the words of a serious prosecutor. Those are the words of a corrupt politician who is abusing their power. She actively campaigned on that. She also led the witch hunt, the financial fraud investigation against President Trump and the Trump Organization, and an appeals court tossed that case out, a $500 million civil fraud penalty in August, which was another win for the president, and exonerated him of this witch hunt and showed that this is an individual who is corrupt and abused her oath of office. And we also have evidence of her mortgage fraud. An April report from a white-collar fraud investigator found that there was documented evidence that James engaged in a consistent pattern of financial and property disclosures that raise serious legal questions.
All right, I think we get the point. They're going after Letitia and all that, which is cool. All right, let's see. So, AG Bondi, you have the evidence from DNI Gabbard regarding the 2020 elections. The people demand accountability, and Barack Obama should be charged and prosecuted. Mind you, this isn't a request. So this was from Erica. Erica RN4 USA, reposted by Trump. And then this is the video.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. At President Trump's direction and with the support and coordination with the House Intelligence Committee Chairman Rick Crawford, today we've released a declassified oversight majority staff report that was produced in September of 2020. The stunning revelations that we are releasing today should be of concern to every American. This is not about Democrats or Republicans. This has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic and American voters having faith that the votes cast will count. There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. It wasn't. The report that we released today shows in great detail how they carried this out. They manufactured findings from shoddy sources. They suppressed evidence and credible intelligence that disproved their false claims. They disobeyed traditional tradecraft intelligence community standards and withheld the truth from the American people. In doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people who elected Donald Trump in that election in November of 2016. They worked with their partners in the media to promote this lie, ultimately to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump and launching what would be a years-long coup against him and his administration.
Yikes. Interesting things coming down the pipeline. What is this?
You really zeroed in on what I wanted to address in this discussion, and that is the failure of the Georgia legal system to allow for a review of these facts until now. It is 2025, Cleta. Isn't it a failure of the Georgia legal system that we're only learning about this now?
Well, it is let me just say this. The chief judge of Fulton County, his name is Chris Brashear. He has since retired, but he was the chief judge. And it was his responsibility under the state constitution of Georgia to appoint a judge eligible to hear our election contest. We filed that contest on December the 4th. Would you like to know when he finally appointed a judge? He appointed a judge on the 4th of January when the certification and of the electoral college votes was going to take place 2 days later, and the new judge has set a trial for 3 days after the electoral college votes. So They made it impossible for us to present our evidence. And since then, there has been, so it's a complete failure of the Georgia legal system. It is a complete failure of the leadership of the state of Georgia. Governor Kemp, the lieutenant governor at the time, Jeff Duncan, Brad Raffensperger, the moron Secretary of State who now is running for governor, the Attorney General Chris Carr, who is also running for governor. They were feckless. They failed to exercise the responsibilities of their office to ensure that the only legal votes were counted. And we documented, and people can look in the public record, a 64-page complaint, and that shows the statutes that were violated and how many votes had been included in the count that were in violation of state law. And now they say, it's a clerical error.
Wow. Alrighty. So from MAGA Voice, Truth by Donald Trump. Breaking, Minnesota mayor just exposed Tim Walz for $9 billion in fraud and Somali theft. Both the legislation and the governor fought for the fraud and the constant policies that are taxing Minnesotans. Mic drop.
I mean, Minnesotans have been fleeced to the tune of $9 billion. This is done from fraud right out of the Minnesota Capitol in St. Paul, as well as the policies that are being championed and brought across the finish line by the legislature. Both the legislature and the governor are at fault for the fraud and the constant policies that are taxing Minnesotans.
You know, I can't help but think about seal number 5. So seal number 5. Oops, excuse me. Seal number 5 here. When he opened the 5th seal, I saw under the altar the souls of those who had been slain for the word of God and for the testimony which they held. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, until you have judged and avenged our blood on those who dwell on the earth? Then a white robe was given to each of them, and it was said to them that they should rest a little while longer, until both the number of their fellow servants and their brethren, who would be killed as they were, was completed. I keep thinking about that while I'm watching these videos. When is there going to be justice?
Let's put up Minnesota's rank among key growth indicators. Very anemic and devastating growth numbers actually across the state that have happened under this governor. But Mayor Zupancic, let me ask you about something that Mike Emanuel reported at the end there, this question about whether or not the governor looked the other way on potentially $9 billion of fraud because he didn't want to point out that the majority of those who were accused and then convicted in these cases were from the Somali community. What do you say to that?
Well, I don't understand what difference that makes to anyone else. How would anyone else be approached or confronted if they stole money from someone?
Okay. All right, what is this? From Wall Street Apes, it's time to abolish the Barack Obama Affordable Care Act, the single Social Security number used for over 125 insurance policies, nearly $21 billion. 1/3 of the subsidies paid out went to the people who never claimed the payments on their tax returns. 58,000 dead people received benefits. At least 7,000 were dead before the coverage kicked in. That's thousands of applications filed with Social Security numbers of dead people. That's textbook fraud, and nobody checks. Big Pharma gets paid out for all of these plans. Nobody is checking anything when it comes to government handout. Nobody is checking a thing. Yeah, this is one of the things that Elon Musk said that they do with the Social Security numbers of the dead.
A single Social Security number used for over 125 insurance policies.
Okay, we've just read what he's going to say. Let's move on. Obamacare is a complete disaster. Yeah, we know.
The Senate is now in recess until the new year. There is nothing that is going to stop these premiums from rising. How do you explain to constituents in Oklahoma why this is happening to them?
This is pure and simple an expiration and a problem that the Democrats created several years ago. Obamacare is unaffordable. What happened when Obamacare was put in place? Prices skyrocketed in the marketplace during COVID. Democrats put an additional subsidy on top of the Obamacare subsidies. They gave that an expiration date. That was the end of this year, saying this was a COVID era plus up on it. Obviously, the COVID pandemic is over. That plus up is going away, and it's exposing the real issues within Obamacare. That's the challenge that we're facing. Just in my state, we took a 6-year snapshot. The Obamacare marketplaces went up 198% during that time period. Normal insurance, commercial insurance for everybody else went up 29%.
Yeah, you got to start skipping some of these. It's getting late. All right, let's see. From Red Pill Bot, President Trump called for Nancy Pelosi to be looked at for her $200 million net worth on $175,000 a year salary. You ought to look at Nancy Pelosi and some of these politicians that are stone cold crooks. Why did Martha Stewart go to prison for insider trading and Nancy Pelosi hasn't? It's only 35 seconds.
If I own stock in something and I do a good job and the stock market goes up, I guess I'm profiting. But who really profits is somebody like Nancy Pelosi, who uses inside information. She worked for $175,000 a year, and that's at the high end, and she's worth $150, $200 million. Okay? You ought to look at Nancy Pelosi, and you ought to look at some of these politicians that are stone cold crooks. I was very wealthy when I came in. Being president, I probably cost me money if you really look.
Yeah. Being the president, that's not a new revelation. Donald Trump it's cost him almost everything. They were aiming to take every penny that he owned, but God willing, awarded him with $2 billion right when they pretty much were trying to take the rest of it. So, yeah. What is this? This is exhausting all this truth. And the Dems still keep lying, and people believe them.
Everybody should be able to see it by now. America's been getting scammed for years. And then a self-made billionaire who will put an end to those scams decides to run for president. That's when the scammers tell us that he's working with Russia. And when that failed, they said he was a dictator who would never leave office. And then when he left office, they said he was a racist. And when that failed, they tried to claim he was a sexist. And when that failed, they said he was a fascist. And then when that failed, the same people that have been scamming us for years turned around and tried to use the legal system to prevent him from taking office again.
Yep.
They tried to take him off of the ballots in multiple states.
Yep.
And then they fabricated a bunch of charges to try to put him in prison for the rest of his life.
Yep.
And then as all of their cases failed one by one, with the exception of mislabeling financial records, somebody tried to take his life multiple times.
Yep.
And then after all of that failed and he actually became president again, now they're trying to claim that he's part of the Epstein list while he's exposing the scammers left and right. And now the scammers are the ones pretending to be the victim. You got Gavin Newsom's employee busted for $5 million in unemployment fraud. You got Eric Swalwell, Adam Schiff, and Letitia James all being investigated for mortgage fraud. You got the Somalian population under Tim Walz stealing over $1 billion worth of fraud and then sending it back to terrorists overseas. You got other people in Minnesota getting charged for election fraud. And now that Trump and the Republicans have shut down USAID, you have companies like PBS News Network out begging the population for money because their funding was cut off. So let's face the facts. If Trump was really a bad guy, they wouldn't have to go out of their way to make up lies and use those lies to convince you that he's a bad guy. All they would have to do is tell the truth, the same way we do about the Democrats. If Trump was so horrible, they wouldn't have to use false accusations to demonize him. They just let him do what he's going to do, and then they would have grounds for impeachment.
Yeah.
Instead, they used false accusations to convince people that he's a horrible person. And if the accusations weren't false, then they would have won by now on more than just the mislabeled payments. I mean, seriously, think about it and just apply a little bit of common sense. They attempted to take this man down dozens of times, and every one of those times failed except 34 mislabeled payments. And even that shit was shady. They took a misdemeanor charge, upgraded it to a felony for the first time ever, and then put him on a gag order while they fucking dragged him through the court system. And then, since there were 34 payments, they give him 34 felonies. That way they could jump on the news and use that headline, knowing that low-level, low-IQ people won't go do the research for themselves. But then when you apply the smallest bit of common sense, you realize, wait a minute, a billionaire probably isn't even out there labeling his payments. It's probably an accountant that he hired.
That's right.
So out of all of the things that they've ever accused him of, the only thing they found him guilty of is an action that was committed by somebody else that he hired? Meanwhile, the Democrats attempt to convince you that they're the good guys while they actively fight against law enforcement to protect illegal immigrants. The Democrats use the legal system to attack Trump when he attempts to send in soldiers to bring down the crime rates in those Democrat areas. The Democrats go out of their way to protect criminals and then investigate the President of the United States.
It's so ridiculous, but it's true.
And then just simply take a look around at all this fraud that's being exposed and you'll have your answer. They were attempting to prevent him from coming in and exposing what the fuck they've been doing. If you disagree, then be my guest. Go ahead and prove me wrong.
It's great to hear it listed out like that, one thing after another. It's so many things, it's ridiculous. Well, if anything, it proves there's a God. Because how else on earth could anybody go through those things and still come through and be president? That is the hand of God Almighty on that man. Gotta love it. I feel like we saw this one already. Testimony about the Dominion voting machines.
If I'm remembering correctly, there were several states involved.
And which time period are you referring to?
This was 2020.
Yeah, I'm gonna assume this is the same thing we already watched, or at least in the same vein, because we don't have 3 minutes to keep watching these things. So what is this one about? This one is, holy crap! New reports alleged up to $76.5 billion or more in fraudulent spending in California. This makes Minnesota look like child's play, and more is going to come out. Rep Kiley is confirming. Is confirming slithering Gavin Newsom's California is a fraudulent. Let's see if this is what they're saying here.
California Congressman Kevin Kiley, he is sounding the alarm in his home state, saying under Governor Gavin Newsom's leadership, it has become the, quote, fraud capital of America.
And we have team coverage. Our national correspondent Alana Austin is on Capitol Hill with more on the investigations into Tim Walz. But we start with correspondent Heather Myers, who has more on what is going on in California. A rainy day out there on the West Coast. Heather, what can you tell us?
Well, good afternoon to you, Katrina and Andrew. This latest report was issued by the state auditor, and that's a nonpartisan position. That state auditor now puts 8 state agencies on the high-risk list of agencies to watch out for things like fraud and mismanagement, as well as waste. Here's a look at that 92-page report. Newly added to the high-risk list is California's food stamp program. If the state doesn't get the improper payments under control, it could cost an extra $2.5 billion. Also on there is the Department of Finance, which was tasked with giving out COVID relief funds. Critics say $32 billion of that was taken by fraudsters. Then there are infrastructure issues like California's deteriorating dams and also the high-speed train that's already cost taxpayers $18 billion without a single section of track complete. Other reports cite $24 billion spent on the homeless.
What do they do with
issue
all
that
this
critics
money?
claim the state lost track of. More recently, there's a report that says California cell phone users paid a surcharge for years to upgrade the state's 911 system. Here's Congressman Kevin Kiley talking about what happened to that plan.
That after spending $650 million on that system, the state is totally scrapping it and starting over, completely wasting the money because the technology doesn't work.
Wow.
Mind you, we are very close to Silicon Valley in Sacramento, and yet the government can't figure out how to make basic technology perform.
Wow. All right. Man, there's just so much to cover. Dude had a very busy Christmas. The siege at Mar-a-Lago was illegal. So this is from MAGA Times Daily News, retruth by Trump. Let's see. The vacuuming up of sitting members of Congress phone data is illegal. The phone call Trump made, I need 11,000 votes. Give me a break. He was right. Rudy Giuliani and Trump's legal team were right. Fani Willis engaged in a conspiracy with the White House. Ciao, check. Jenna Ellis jumped ship, pled guilty, and was working with prosecution. So these three provable scandals your lefty relative can't deny.
Here's what we know. When you speak to your favorite left-wing relative and they say, you MAGA people, you live in a fiction. It's all lies. What are you talking about? The home raid, the Mar-a-Lago raid, just so we're all very clear here, was not, and you need to know this in case you don't, if you're happening by and you're just hearing this. The raid on Donald Trump's home was not something Biden's FBI agreed with and told Merrick Garland and Biden's Justice Department, do not do it. You do not have probable cause to go raiding Donald Trump's home. And they did it anyway. Now, that is a documented fact, Ed. Am I exaggerating in any way? That has now been reported as documented and true, and those papers have been handed over to Congress. Joe Biden's FBI told Joe Biden's DOJ, do not raid Mar-a-Lago. You do not have the required metrics we need to go storming into his home. And they did it anyway. Is that an exaggeration in any way?
Not that I can tell, no. Of course not.
Is it an exaggeration in any way that Joe Biden's Department of Justice went rounding up United States senators' phone records and told the cell phone company, in one instance at least, in Ted Cruz's case, you don't tell them that we got FISA warrants to nose around in their phone records or we're coming after you? Am I making that story up? Is that true or false?
Nope. They even took that extra step of trying to hide it. No, none of that's made up.
So we know the home raid was illegal. We know the seizing of senators' phone records was illegal. We know that Georgia was now officially, and it was by the admission of the attorney representing the county who certified the votes, yes, we improperly certified 315,000 votes in 2020 that should not have been certified. And Joe Biden won Georgia by 11,000 votes. These are things that we just discovered in the last couple of weeks. And there's a laundry list more, I know. And those of you who hear me saying this say, yes, Stig, all this is all old news. We know all this. Well, we suspected all of this. We never had documented, verifiable evidence before us, now submitted before Congress. So pass it along to your favorite left-wing loved one this Christmas.
Yep. It's all coming out. All right, what do we have here? The election was stolen. President Trump was correct.
Over the weekend, Fulton County admitted that they certified their election with over 315,000 early ballots that were missing the required signature by the poll worker. 5 years later, they're just gonna, I'm gonna drop this little piece of information and no one's gonna care. This is the crap they do. We see it all the time. They wait long enough for the average person to just no longer care. Well, I'm happy to go back 5 years ago and remember how freaking pissed I was to see how many signs there were that there was election dishonesty going on in Fulton County, and many others, by the way. We better see prosecutions come out of.
Okay, we get it. I got to keep moving through these things. Too many freaking. We got to bring this to a close. We're definitely going to have to cover Elon tomorrow evening. Let's see. Rudy Freeman needs to be held accountable. Ruby Freeman needs to be held accountable. She was caught on camera putting the same ballots through the machine several times. I remember these videos.
Evidence of a poll worker named Ruby Freeman running the same stack of ballots through the counting machines multiple times. Ironically, Ruby Freeman was later given the Presidential Citizens Medal by Joe Biden for her work during the 2020 election.
For her cheating. How much longer, Lord? Until vengeance is paid. Breaking. Democrats are now officially panicking after Trump canceled every auto pin order done by crooked Joe Biden.
Read you exactly what he posted. He said, quote, any document signed by sleepy Joe Biden.
So this is from Truth Teller. It says, Merry Christmas, America, from Donald J. Trump and Team MAGA. And this is the video associated
with the
with
auto pen, which was approximately 92% of them, is hereby terminated and of no further force or effect. He says the auto pen is not allowed to be used if approval is not specifically given by the President of the United States. He also says in that post, quote, I am hereby canceling all executive orders and anything else that was not directly signed by crooked Joe Biden because the people who operated the auto pen did so illegally. He goes on to say in that post, Joe Biden was not involved in the auto pen process, and if he says he was, he'll be brought up on charges of perjury. He says, thank you for your attention to this matter. Of course, this was just posted moments ago to Truth Social. Again, the president, as we know, following him is at the golf course. So, of course, we're hoping to confirm and get any more information about this. Alicia.
Dana Marie McNichol.
All right, what do we got here? This is from RWB American. Tom Homan is a no BS guy. His efforts and personality are driving the success ICE is having at nabbing the illegals that need to be deported. Merry Christmas, Tom Homan.
I got one thing I need to say real quick before I leave.
Take your notes from me, Tom.
Take my notes from me. I'm going to read it. I don't want any misinterpretation when I'm reading to you. The registration requirements under 8 U.S.C. 1302. If you're illegal alien in the United States, this message is for you. You cannot hide from ICE. We're actively looking for you. Federal law requires every alien in the United States who has been present in the United States more than 30 days needs to register. For those 14 years or older, you need to be fingerprinted with the Department of Homeland Security. Federal law requires every alien in the United States to tell DHS in writing if you have a change in address within 10 days of changing that address. Failing to register with DHS and failure to tell DHS about your new address are criminal offenses, and they're going to be treated as such. Starting today. Make no mistake, if you're in the country illegally and you fail to do what the law requires, we will prosecute you, you will go to jail, then we'll deport you. Second law, penalties for failure to depart, 8 U.S.C. 1253. If you're alien inside the United States who has a final order, this message is for you. If you have a final order, the Trump administration is committed to enforcing our immigration laws, especially for those aliens who have received final orders of deportation. There are currently around 1.4 million illegal aliens who have been ordered removed but remain here in violation of the law. We will aggressively prosecute, consistent with long-standing law, those aliens for failing or refusing to depart or who takes other related actions aimed at hindering their removal. You cannot open the door. You cannot answer questions. You cannot open your car door. You consider it to evade law enforcement. If you fail to leave the United States after receiving a removal order, we can and will issue monetary fines up to $998 a day.
Wow.
Evading your arrest, knowing you have a final order or removal, is a criminal offense. We will prosecute, then we'll deport you. Get your affairs in order. If you're in the country illegally, work with ICE, go to CBP 1 Home app, and leave on your own. Because we have to find you, deport you, and prosecute you. You'll have a bar placed on you, and you won't come back to this country. You won't be able to come back on a visitor's visa, a tourist visa. If you have your citizen child, can't petition for you. If you're in this country, well, you get your affairs in order and work with us and get yourself removed from this country. That's what the law requires, and we're going to enforce that law.
Can we start deporting some of these far-left Democrats who are borderline violent? I want to see them deported. All right, from Sammy Nathaniel, retruth by Trump, total smackdown. Thank you, Caroline. We may not watch all this. Or this one.
James and James Comey.
Excuse me. I'm answering a question from you.
And looked at me. I'm sorry.
I turned and looked at you because you're yelling. I will take a question from your colleague, and then I'll take your question too. Okay? Go ahead. I know there was a judge who is clearly trying to shield Letitia James and James Comey from receiving accountability, and that's why they took this unprecedented action to throw away the indictments against these two individuals. But the Department of Justice will be appealing very soon.
Good.
And it is our position that Lindsay Halligan is extremely qualified for this position, but more importantly, was legally appointed to it.
Is the president more determined now, since the judge's ruling today, to go after James Comey and Tish James, and if so, why?
I wouldn't say he's going after them. I think the president is more determined
I hear El Salvador has some pretty good prisons that are good at reforming people. Fury.
than ever to see accountability in this country, yes, and to correct the wrongs of the weaponization of our justice system that we saw under the previous administration and Joe Biden.
Thank you. Is it MAGA to support American workers being replaced with H-1B visa holders? Are Americans not capable of filling most of these positions?
Who supports getting American workers getting replaced?
I know the president mentioned that he wanted to bring in some workers that he could eventually send back in regards to...
The president does not support American workers being replaced. You are mischaracterizing what the president said. The president wants to see our American manufacturing industry be revitalized better than ever before. That's part of what he's doing with his effective use of tariffs and cutting good trade deals around the world. That's why he's recruited trillions and trillions of dollars in investments into our country. Those are creating good paying American jobs right here at home. As for the H-1B visa issue, the president has a very nuanced and common sense opinion on this issue. He wants to see if foreign companies are investing trillions of dollars in the United States of America and they're bringing foreign workers with them to create very niche things like batteries. He wants to see that at the beginning to get those manufacturing facilities and those factories up and running. But ultimately, the president always wants to see American workers in those jobs. And he's told these foreign companies that are investing here, you better be hiring my people if you're going to be doing business in the United States. So there's been a lot of misunderstanding.
All right. It's all good stuff. I really want to watch it all, but we got to keep moving. This one's 4 minutes. Probably not going to watch this one. So this is, holy smokes, turns out the corruption in Gavin Newsom's California now dwarfs what we've seen in Tim Walz's Minnesota. That's not new news, but yes, it is amazing. I'm not even going to watch that one because I'm going to be tempted to watch the whole thing. All right, Fulton election a Fulton election official testified under oath that she saw 100% of military absentee ballots go to Joe Biden. We've already seen this video. The conspiracy theorists were right again. Let's see, Fury says, we would have to exile them. I'm wondering if we have exile laws. Would have to research that. Ooh, interesting. Of course, if we start doing that, then you know that the next thing is people are going to start saying, see, I told you so. Now Trump is getting rid of his enemies. So he probably won't. It's just a nice thought. Kind of like playing the lottery. It's kind of a nice thought. You know what I mean? It's a nice thought of what I would do if I won the billions of dollars. All right, proof Michigan elections are rigged. Going into the 2024 election, Michigan had 500,000 more registered voters then we have voting age adults. Good Lord. Michigan Secretary of State is mass sending out voter registrations. She then is denying Freedom of Information Act requests for data. Michigan is a slow or no growth state of 10 million people. So how did Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson find 750,000 new voters just between July and October? Shout out to Anna Hoffman for that report, by the way. She's doing it with a system called ERIC, the Electronic Registration Information. Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson officially states joined ERIC to compare their voter rolls and eliminate duplicates. In reality, ERIC finds eligible but unregistered adults in each state, and member states are required to reach out to them. We've sent Jocelyn Benson foyers for the eligible but unregistered reports that Eric sent to Michigan. Despite calling herself the transparency candidate, Benson has denied them. In September 2020, using Eric data, Benson sent postcards to 700,000 eligible but unregistered adults. Interesting. Another oil company moving out of California. Phillips 66 Oil Company is moving its headquarters out. Socialism is not working well for Gavin Newsom. Holy smoke, it's now coming out that Somalis buy homes in Minnesota to use as home care. They sit empty, then build a state for millions per year. 455 homes confirmed. Somalis figured out the perfect plan on how to scam Minnesota taxpayers. It's infuriating. Minnesota realtor exposed housing, home, health fraud by Somalis. Wow. It's never ending. Let's see. It's over. Donald Trump has directed the Justice Department to investigate Democrats Act Blue. Trump is giving. Oh, we already read this one. Breaking. Rep. Comer reveals 75% of Somalis in Minnesota are on welfare. The early numbers I'm getting in on the Somalis in Minnesota is 75% of the Somalis in Minnesota are on full government assistance. That's full welfare.
Because they don't want to offend that population. And the early numbers that I'm getting in on the Somalis in Minnesota is 75% of the Somalis in Minnesota are on full government assistance. That's full welfare. The whole reason that the Democrats left the border open during the Biden administration was to allow people to come in and what they said would provide jobs, because there's a shortage of workers. And I agree there's a shortage of workers, but you got a massive population in that one state, and the overwhelming majority of that population's on Medicaid and then and other types of government programs. Even when Democrats say there are no illegals on Medicaid, I think that's going to be proven to be false.
Look in Minnesota. Right. Chairman.
Wow. So not only are they defrauding by $9 billion, they're also signing up for Medicaid. Do they just look for every single thing they can scam? Is this their business? It seems to be their business. Seems to be what it is that they do. Good Lord. Let's see. From Eric Doherty, retruth by Trump. Breaking. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick just dropped the mic on every expert and Democrat in the United States of America. Just think. The United Kingdom group. Mouth is starting to not work. Just think. The United Kingdom grew 1%, 0.1%. The European Union grew 0.4%, and Japan fell 0.6%. Donald Trump's economy grew 4.3%. What that means is that Americans overall, all of us, are going to earn 4.3% more money. We're making a raise. It's a simple way to do it. We've got more jobs, lower energy costs, and lower interest rates coming. This is the golden age coming. 4.3% this quarter means Americans, on average, are making more money in their pocketbooks. That makes a great Christmas. Okay. Yeah, their business is piracy in every form, the Somalis. From Bill Mitchell, retruth by Donald Trump. Alert, Fulton County's 2020 election mess is back in the spotlight. Okay. Can we ignore the video showing poll workers acting shady while 300 ballots got certified without signatures? This is a gut punch. The tapes got folks questioning everything again. The Department of Justice is now suing Fulton County over these very issues. It's stirring up a storm. Here's the deal. 78% of respondents worry about unsigned ballots. Screams a 2022 Journal of Election Science study, and it's hitting home hard. Step up and demand answers. What would you push for if you were fighting for fair votes? It's only 29 seconds. What are we watching? What did I just watch? Set up demand answers. Let's see. Ignore the video showing poll workers acting shady while 300 ballots got. How is this a poll worker acting shady? Just because this person walks up on this person to cover them? Oh, she grabbed something in her hand, and then he covered her so that she could get up and walk off with something. Okay, I get it. It's acting shady, but obviously if they're finding these more evidence, this is just par for the course, I guess. Let's see, from Rapid Response 47, last week we talked about inflation coming in lower than expected. Now economic growth is 1 full percent point faster than expected. It was supposed to come in at 3.3%. It came in at 4.3%. This is a direct result of everything POTUS has put in place. Yeah. All right. What is this? There's no post on this, so let's see what he's got to say.
We saw numerous examples of numbers moving, numbers being flipped.
Oh, that's 10 minutes. We're not going to watch that. Probably more fraud stuff. From Johnny Midnight, if we ever get a good look at California and where the money is going, it's going to make Gavin look so stupid and may even put him in prison. Yeah, probably. California State Auditor just put 8 state agencies on a fraud list under Gavin Newsom's watch. There was tens of billions of dollars of government fraud. Man, they got to be shaking in their
Report
boots.
was issued by the state auditor, and that's a nonpartisan position. That state auditor now puts 8 state agencies on the high-risk list of agencies.
Okay, we get the point. All right, moving on. Let's see. Trump's 79% increase in GDP growth. 5 ways he did it. Okay. Let's see. This is America is America Again from Sammy Nathaniel. Amazing. The last 11 months in America have been the most successful 11 months of any president in American history. Border slammed shut, crime plummeting, illegals going home, America for us again. Yep. From Real Robert, here it is, another poll watcher under oath. You must know in your heart that this election was fraudulent. U.S. military ballots on November 3rd, 2020. Eyewitness military ballots being duplicated. I just thought it was strange that only Biden's name was selected. No down ballots, and I watched multiples. I don't know how many I watched, and not one of them was for Trump. I thought that was really strange, especially being military. 2020 was not an election. It was a treasonous conspiracy. Seems it's starting to seem that way, doesn't it? Let's see, from Steve 2A, God, Family, Country. I agree 100% with Andy. Clean out every one of those rhinos in the administration, or the betrayal will never end. That's 30 seconds.
There's so many people in the executive branch that support President Trump, but you have these secondary and tertiary level people that are trying to put up every kind of speed stick to try to wait out President Trump's term. That's a real problem, and that's why I believe that our top tier leaders need to clean out everybody underneath them and start over again.
Yeah. Definitely need a lot of house cleaning in the government, that's for sure. First Minnesota, now California. Why am I not surprised? One by one, blue states are being exposed for fraud. They're robbing the people blind, and it's finally out in the open for all to see. It won't be long until we find out they're stealing elections so they can steal your money and freedoms. Let's see. So tonight, at my direction, as Commander-in-Chief, the United States launched a powerful and deadly strike against ISIS terrorist scum in northwest Nigeria, who have been targeting and viciously killing primarily innocent Christians at levels not seen for many years and even centuries. I have previously warned these terrorists that if they did not stop the slaughtering of Christians, there would be hell to pay. And tonight there was. Department of War executed numerous perfect strikes, as only the United States is capable of doing. Under my leadership, our country will not allow radical Islamic terrorists to prosper. May God bless our military, and Merry Christmas to all, including the dead terrorists, of which there will be many more if their slaughter of Christians continues. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. Nice. All right, another Merry Christmas from Donald J. Trump. Merry Christmas to all, including the many sleazebags who loved Jeffrey Epstein, gave him bundles of money, went to his island, attended his parties, and thought he was the greatest guy on earth, only to drop him like a dog when things got too hot. Falsely claimed that they had nothing to do with him, didn't know him, said he was a disgusting person, and then blame, of course, President Donald J. Trump, who was actually the only one who did drop Epstein, and long before it became fashionable to do so. When their names get brought out in the ongoing radical left witch hunt, plus one low-life Republican Massey, and it is revealed that they are Democrats all, there will be a lot of explaining to do, much like there was when it was made public that the Russia hoax was a fictitious story, a total scam, and had nothing to do with Trump. The failing New York Times, among many others, was forced to apologize for their bad and faulty election reporting, even to the point of losing many subscribers due to their highly inaccurate fake coverage. Now the same losers are at it again, only this time so many of their friends, mostly innocent, will be badly hurt and reputationally tarnished. But sadly, that's the way it is. In the world of corrupt Democrat politics. Enjoy what may be your last Merry Christmas, President Donald J. Trump. Whoa. Maybe February is the final hammer. Maybe that's when, just a little while longer before the vengeance starts coming down, before the hammer comes down. Love it. All right. Lake and Legacy, more than 17,500 illegal aliens captured under law named for slain nursing student. Ex-War Department official warns terrorists may one day aerosolize fentanyl. Let's see. Ex-War Department official warns terrorists may one day aerosol fentanyl. Praises Trump's move. Oh, okay. Democrats push for Epstein files boomeranged with Trump featured, or with Clinton with Clinton featured prominently throughout. Rubio issues sanction on European officials who attempted to censor American free speech. Let's see. Big news for the USA. Federal employment is now at the lowest level since 2014, down by 271,000 jobs since President Trump took office. Nice. Trump is doing an amazing job. The U.S. is set to record its biggest single-year decline in murders on record, according to crime statistics analyst Jeff Asher. Wow. Percent change in selected types of crime. Compare January through October of each year, 2024, 2025. Vehicle thefts, murder, robbery, burglary, property crimes, violent crime, theft, rape, and aggravated assault. All down. All right. From Bill Mitchell, breaking sworn testimony exposes massive 2020 election data dump. God, there's so much of this. Bombshell video from a brave poll watcher under oath will make your blood boil. They stopped counting in swing states, then dumped votes overnight to steal our election. The poll watcher said about 2 o'clock in the morning, my monitor went down and totally rebooted. So unless you can tell me there wasn't a data dump, there wasn't a data breach, I don't believe that the numbers were true. This is going to be worth it.
I'm going to flash forward to 2 o'clock in the morning. At midnight, Trump was ahead 10%, which was an unusually high amount. To about 2 o'clock in the morning, my monitor went down. It totally rebooted. So unless you can tell me there wasn't a data dump, there wasn't a data breach, I don't believe that the numbers were true, because when I went home and woke up, all of a sudden Biden was ahead.
I remember
we had
that.
processed
Don't we all?
120,000 votes. by midnight out of the 170,000 absentee ballots we were expecting. So I assumed we were missing about 50,000, and all of a sudden Biden was now missing. And Sidney Powell did discuss something about this in Rudy Giuliani's press conference, and I do believe I did witness that. And the voting had stopped in the middle of the night. So unless you were one of the few processing tables, you would not have seen this rebooting of the laptops.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Sawyer? Senator Tice.
Sorry, there's a theme here. So when you were watching people get thrown out, did you know whether or not they were Republican or Democrat as they were getting booted out?
It depends if they clapped or not. Anytime they clapped, you knew that was a Republican.
All right. Grand jury properly voted on James Comey's indictment. Foreman claims and blow defense eliminates any doubt. Yeah, I don't want to go read these articles. We'll be here forever. I think we're almost done. Definitely going to have to do Elon Musk tomorrow because otherwise we'll be here for 5 hours. And that's not a good way to go into the Sabbath. Mike Davis, deranged Democrats. Latest coup attempt seeks military mutiny. Democrats. Silly Democrats. It's time to end the filibuster. Yeah. Oh, this is going to be good. From Mike Lee. So, Senator Mike Lee, this is my humble opinion, informed by 15 years of Senate hell, is the only way out of the Senate-imposed zombie apocalypse. So for Mike Lee, the chronic abuse of the Senate's 60-vote cloture standard must come to an end now. The Senate GOP must immediately start fighting cloture abuse by, among other things, requiring senators to debate. When they stop speaking, we can call a vote on pending legislation and pass it with a simple majority. No supermajority cloture vote required. It's time to make them talk. It's time to end the zombie filibuster from hell. Please repost if you agree. Lordy, 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 lordy. New home prices dropped by 27% for Lennar Homes. Oh my God, they make such crap homes. We looked at Lennar Homes. We looked at so many Lennar Homes. I think it's because they were building too fast. I don't know if I could say every single home, but the majority of the Lennar homes we looked at had serious problems, like entire walls that were bowing under the pressure of the home. So anyway, bad experience with Lennar homes. But hey, their prices are down 27%. This is President Trump with a big airplane that says America First on his desk. And these are pictures of, let's see, the renovated Palm Room. Beautiful. Nice. Let's see. Potential marble armrests for the seating at the Trump Kennedy Center, unlike anything ever done or seen before. He sure likes his building materials, that's for sure. All right, now 100,000 more pages on Epstein are found. The Department of Justice is being forced to spend all of its time on this Democrat-inspired hoax. When do they say no more and work on election fraud, etc.? The Dems are the ones who worked with Epstein, not the Republicans. Release all of their names, embarrass them, and get back to helping our country. The radical left doesn't want people talking about Trump and Republican success. Only a long ago dead Jeff Epstein. Just another witch hunt. Yeah, we already read that post. Yeah, apparently a lot of the redacted files that they returned in PDF format, you can just highlight the redacted parts and copy it and paste it into a text editor and see what they tried to redact. A lot of it was stupid stuff, like stuff that should not even be redacted. All right, let's we might watch this whole 3 minutes since this is the last post. We're probably going to call it here, so let's see what this has to say. I watched this. This was pretty funny when they were talking to people about Santa Claus. It was super cute.
Love him or hate him, there's simply no president in recent history with the same instincts, presence, or showmanship as Donald J. Trump. Case in point, on Christmas Eve, the President and First Lady Melania spent time answering calls from kids tracking Santa's progress. And only Trump could turn a Santa hotline into a Trump rally on giving kids clean, beautiful coal.
What would you like Santa to bring?
Not coal.
Not coal. No, you don't want coal. Well, coal is, you mean clean, beautiful coal. I had to do that, I'm sorry. No, coal is clean and beautiful. Please remember that.
Santa has a tracker on him. Okay.
Well, we track Santa all over the world. We want to make sure that Santa is being good. Santa's a very good person. We want to make sure that he's not infiltrated, that we're not infiltrating into our country a bad
Yeah, it's got to be so hard for Melania to
long.
talk on the phone with
We
him
have
in
to
there.
get back to China, Russia, Ukraine. We have to get back to other things, but this is, you could do this all day long.
President Trump is also spreading the holiday cheer by blowing up ISIS terrorists, launching a Christmas night airstrike in Nigeria, and targeting militants accused of killing Christians. Trump telling Politico that the strikes were originally supposed to take place on Christmas Eve, but he ordered it delayed one day, and here's why.
And I said yesterday, I said, hit them on Christmas Day. It'll be a Christmas present. We hit ISIS, who are terrible. They're butchers. And we really hit them hard in different locations, and they really got hit hard yesterday. So they got a very bad Christmas present.
Trump's ability to play Santa's wingman and bomb the bad guys once again leads us to a very simple question. Who's the Democrat version of that? Because their last leader, well, he's getting lost again. Former President Joe Biden is barely visible in his own Christmas family photo. His face, if you can see it, is hiding in a corner behind Jill. And as for the next generation, Kamala Harris is now bouncing around on random podcasts, something she didn't do in the 2024 campaign. The ex-Veep explaining that criticizing her cackling laugh is, you guessed it, sexist.
I don't aspire to be humble. Humility, yes, is very important. But when you are sending signals, and it's very dated, if not just traditional, but a very dated perspective on who women should be, to say women should be humble, women should be quiet, women should laugh quietly. Women should not have a sense of humor. Women should not raise their voice. Women should not experience, at least openly, anger. Women should not complain, right? I have never felt burdened by those very dated and I think out of touch standards.
So, going back to the Santa, tracking the Santa sleigh, Paul, Trump really does have a remarkable ability to stay on message even when talking to children.
So glad Kamala Harris is not our president. I can't imagine what we would be going through if she was. Fury. I don't actually have an opinion on Pam Bondi, whether she's incompetent or not. I imagine anybody in that role, dealing with the quantity of work that President Trump generates, I imagine would be difficult for anybody. It's hard to judge. I mean, maybe you have more reason behind finding her incompetent, but I think all of us are wondering why the heck why the hammer's not coming down. I think we're all wondering that. All right. Well, we are at 2 hours and 42 minutes, which is just too long for the Sabbath. So we'll pick this up again tomorrow at 4:30. No, let's see, tomorrow. Yeah, we'll pick it up tomorrow at 4:30. And we'll just plan to go for no more than an hour. So we'll summarize where we can. We'll catch up on, we'll start with Elon Musk, catch up with everything that he posted over the holiday. And then if there's anything else that Trump posts, we'll catch that up. We'll just make it a quick, no more than an hour tomorrow. I'll do a little bit of prep work to see if I can't summarize some things. If it's going to be obviously long, do a little bit more preparation for tomorrow's show. We'll get all caught up. That way on Monday, we won't have a huge long show either. We'll just spread it out. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. These are always really awesome. I mean, it's fun to see all this election stuff finally coming to a head. We all watch this stuff. I remember watching all the testimonies and wondering why anything didn't happen as a result of it. And then we went through 4 years of hell, the Biden administration. All these things have to happen All these things must come true. And Jesus told us about these things before they would happen, so that when they do happen, we would believe. So with that, thank you so much for joining me. Look forward to seeing you guys again tomorrow. God bless you, and shalom.